they made a complaint to the police that you had threatened them with a gun.
Correct.
And you didn't see a firearm.
He was telling me to get off of his property, screaming accusations. I turned and ran.
He didn't have a firearm.
Everything they've said is lies.
You consciously lied to the police, and it could have been tragic.
This is Judy Justice. Donald Sullivan is suing his tenants, William Callahan and Aaron Crowcroft, for loss of income, a false restraining order, and filing of false police reports.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3109, Sullivan versus Callahan, Crowcroft.
Mr. Callahan, how long have you been a tenant of the plaintiffs?
I've personally been a tenant for 3 years. Aaron here has been a tenant for 11.
And you live together?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody else live in the house?
My partner.
Okay. And how long has your partner been in the house?
Me and him have been in the house 12 years. We're the original tenants.
And are you a tenant of his?
Yes, Your Honor.
What do you pay in rent?
We pay $1,000 a month in rent.
You pay to Mr. Crowcroft.
No, I'm paying for the entirety of the rent myself.
Why is that?
Because he's
I'm
mentally
disabled.
and doesn't have a source of income right now, so I am his caretaker primarily.
Okay, let's start again. You've been living in the house for 11 years.
11 or 12, yeah. We moved in January 1st, 2012. That's our official move-in date.
And you have a partner?
Yes, I do.
Male or female?
Male.
Does that partner work?
Yes, he does.
What kind of work?
Retail.
Sales?
Yes, retail sales like Walmart.
And what is the nature of your disability?
I'm severely bipolar with Asperger's syndrome and ADHD.
Did you ever work?
I've worked on and off, but I've never been able to maintain work. I've tried. I've never been able to.
Get Social Security?
Not yet, but I'm applying for it as we speak.
How old are you?
I'm 38.
How have you been supporting yourself?
My parents, and then he came into my life.
How did he come into your life?
We've known each other online for a very long time.
Does he get along with your partner?
Yes, very, very much so.
And what kind of work do you do?
I'm a truck driver.
You work for a company?
Yes, I work for a company.
Long haul?
I do a lot of the local, regional stuff, so all within the state of Wisconsin.
Okay. You don't go on trips longer than a day or two?
No, I'm usually home every night.
And how much do you earn at that job?
About $2,200 a week.
And what do you get paid for? And by whom? As a caretaker?
I don't get paid by anyone. I'm just helping him out, so I'm not officially his caretaker or anything, but as a friend, I'm just helping take care of him.
I got it. So you're not a caretaker of his. I misunderstood. Did you apply to be a caretaker?
No, ma'am.
No, because you're gone all day.
Yes, sir.
So Mr. Crowcroft is alone all day.
Yes, sir.
And his partner is in sales, so he's not there during the day.
Yes, sir.
And you pay the entire rent.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Sullivan, this is your claim. Your claim is that an incident occurred and the defendants alleged to the police that you had a gun and you were at home at the time. Police came to the house. There was a scene. They advised you probably by bullhorn to come out of the house with your hands up. Is that right?
Correct.
You did. You had no gun, but you were in fact taken into custody for that brief period of time. You allege falsely based on a false complaint of theirs to the police. The defendants acknowledge that they made a complaint to the police, but say that the police misunderstood them, that you had threatened them with a gun. That's your defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
When did this incident occur?
It was November 6th after midnight, so November 7th until about 3 a.m.
What year?
Of
23.
Yeah, 2023.
Okay. Tell me first, who called the police?
I was the one who called the police that night.
All right, Mr. Callahan. Tell me what happened that night that caused you to call the police.
Originally, I had went to talk with his son because I had received a call from an anonymous number.
From Mr. Sullivan's son?
No, not from Mr. Sullivan's son, but...
No, you went to talk to Mr. Sullivan's son.
Correct.
Is that his son?
No, we're talking about Donald John Sullivan.
Okay, so he's not here.
No, no.
So you went to talk to his son, and where does his son live?
So according to the map there, our defendant's house, our house there.
Got it. So you left your house at what time?
I want to say it was about 11:45 p.m. On the 6th of, that was November.
Okay, so that was on the 6th of November. And what caused you to leave your house at 11:45?
I had, like I said, I had received an anonymous call that someone was investigating his son for the sale and possession of marijuana.
Okay, so you received a call
Yes, Your Honor.
from someone you don't know. Did they leave a message, or was it a actual call that you picked up?
completely unavailable number.
Okay, and that the plaintiff's son, who lives in the middle of where you live and the plaintiff lives,
Yes, Your Honor.
and you must be friendly with him.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, we are. We're on good terms.
Must be if you went there and got this information. How come you didn't call him?
I have text messages to him, but unfortunately that phone was lost and destroyed, so I haven't been able to recover those yet, and I'm trying to. We're also trying to get his original police report about an assault that occurred.
Why is it that these lost phones always happen within weeks of a lawsuit? That is interesting to me.
Well, that one was actually replaced in December.
I don't care if it was replaced in December. It's just unfortunate for your proof.
Donald Sullivan claims his tenants, William Callahan and Aaron Crowcroft, filed a false police report and a false restraining order against him.
Okay, so you walked over to the plaintiff's son's house and told him you had received an anonymous call that somebody was selling marijuana out of his house.
No, that someone was purporting that he was selling marijuana out of
Who was selling?
Donald John Sullivan.
I understand that marijuana was being sold out of his son's house.
Yes.
Okay, and then what happened?
We talked it over. After we talked it over, I returned back home. There was no issue at that point.
You didn't go over there because there was an issue. I gather you went over there because you were his friend and you wanted to alert him.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you went home. Come on, let him
Correct.
hear.
And then from there, I had gone back inside and leashed up my dog and then noticed I was out of cigarettes. So I had called him and was like, hey, do you have any cigarettes?
What do you mean you called whom?
Donald John Sullivan, the
So
son.
now you telephoned him
Yes.
after having gone over there to have a discussion about the call.
Yes.
You telephoned him, you said, I'm out of cigarettes. So now this is 12 o'clock.
Correct, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
From there, I went back over to retrieve a cigarette for myself, and this is where the incident occurred. There was
Well, tell me what happened.
After he had given me a cigarette, I went to return. Mr. Sullivan was at the corner of the house.
Show me where.
So at the corner of the house here is where Mr. Sullivan was postponed because I feel he knew the position.
No, don't tell me what you feel. I don't care what you feel. You were between your house, right at the edge of where the plaintiff's son lives, and your house. So you went there to get a regular cigarette.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah. And is marijuana legal in your state, by the way?
No.
No. You went there to get a cigarette at midnight, and you claim that the plaintiff came out
Yes, Your Honor.
of his house, and what happened?
I think you might have messed up the timeline there. The plaintiff didn't come out of his house. The plaintiff was already over here.
When you came to get the cigarette, the plaintiff was there already.
Yes.
Okay, so you called, and the plaintiff was already there. You said you're coming for a cigarette.
Yes, Your Honor.
Beginning to think that somebody is peeing on my leg. Go ahead.
And then...
And this is at midnight.
Yes, Your Honor.
Keep going.
Then from there, whenever I saw him, he immediately saw me, started screaming accusations.
Just a second. Come and step back here now for a moment. I want you to tell me what Mr. Sullivan said to you.
He was telling me to get off of his property and get out of his house.
Okay. And what did you say to him?
I did not say anything back. I turned and ran.
Okay. And?
From there, I ran through our houses to the road there.
Now you can go back.
So I ran from here
Yes.
up through the middle of our house and our garage here, down the neighbor's driveway.
Why'd you just go home?
I didn't feel like I would be safe at home.
Why?
I don't own any firearms or anything to
He
protect
didn't
me.
have a firearm.
I know, that's where the police messed up with that.
Just a second. Police didn't mess up. I want to know, you're running, but you ran past your house because you said you didn't have any firearms in your house. He didn't have a firearm, and you didn't see a firearm.
No, Your Honor.
So why would you worry about having a firearm in your house? How old are you?
32.
How old is he?
74.
Yeah. You understand I'm not buying your story.
Okay.
You do understand that I'm not buying your story. Back. Do you have a copy of the police report?
Yes, I
Police
do.
were called. The defendant, Mr. Callahan, acknowledges that he called the police. Mr. Crowcroft, you did not call the police.
No, I wasn't awake. I wasn't awake.
You did not call the police. Well, that's what this case is all about. Did you speak to the police?
No.
Well, Mr. Callahan, this is very clear in this police report. Actually, couldn't be clearer. The police were dispatched. It was not a mistake, as you allege, that the police didn't mistake anything. They were dispatched over a call that said that Mr. Sullivan pointed an AR-15 type rifle at him while speaking to the plaintiff's son. That's what it said in the police report. Now, I've read your answer to this, sir, and your answer suggests that the police got it wrong.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's what the answer says. However, the police did an investigation, and I'm going to read to you what they say, sum and substance. Callahan, that would be you, admitted that he made up the incident because he feared for his roommate. I told Callahan that he was pathetic. Callahan stated he might as well blow his brains out and stated that it would do me a favor. Callahan was arrested, that would be you, for obstruction. The officers had conducted a follow-up because they were shown film footage, which evidently was from a Ring camera that the plaintiff's son has, showing the entire incident, which clearly suggested that there was no AR-15, there was no gun pointed at all. And when you were confronted with that footage, you said, all right, I made up the incident. That's what you said. This wasn't a question of the police getting the report wrong. You acknowledge you made up the incident. Okay. Mr. Sullivan, why are you suing Mr. Crowcroft?
For several things. For one, he cost me loss of income because I had a young lady that was going to rent my house for $50.
Where is she?
She couldn't get off of work.
Not interested in it.
I do have a certified statement.
I don't read certified statements,
Okay.
sir. Why are you suing him? We have the guy who made the false police report. He acknowledged it to the police that he made a false report. Why Mr. Crowcroft?
Well, because he was in on it. I mean, so far, everything they've said is lies. As far as the people that lived there, there's 4 people that were living there.
I don't care. Right now, all I have here is what you allege is a false arrest.
False arrest.
Your humiliation about that, and you are absolutely right, and you are entitled to be compensated for that.
And if you look on that police report, it was 7 days later that I found out. Other than that, I had to live with the fear that I was going to be arrested. I was ordered out of my house.
Just a second. I get it all, and I think that that's horrible, and he's going to pay for that. I'm trying to get to Mr. Crowcroft, why he's a defendant.
They also filed a false restraining order.
Who did?
Mr. Crowcroft and William, both.
Just a second. Forget about Callahan. He's already guilty.
Donald Sullivan has accused his tenants, William Callahan and Aaron Crowcroft, of lying to the police by claiming Donald was armed with an assault rifle.
He lied to the police. He lied to the police about a very serious situation because if things had been different, it's in the middle of the night. If you had some police officer who was nervous and you came out of the house, it could have been tragic, reporting that you had a serious weapon in the house in the middle of the night. He's already guilty. Crowcroft, did you file for a protective order?
He did for me, yes. He had my
For what?
permission to do so. For a restraining order to keep him away from me.
Well, just a second. If you filed for a restraining order, on what date did you file for a restraining order?
William?
That was the 5th.
The 5th, November 5th, 2023.
The day before this incident.
The day before the incident?
Just a second. The day before the incident. And on what basis did you file a restraining order against him?
William, what was the
What?
restraining
What was the
order?
basis? I'm asking you.
I don't know the details. He's the one who took care of the paperwork for me because I didn't understand it.
Who signed it? You?
Yeah, I did sign it.
Just a second. I'd like to see it.
I have it here, Your Honor.
By the way, when I'm looking at this, Mr. Sullivan, you both still living in the house, correct?
correct.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a lease now, or is
There hasn't been a lease in 11 years. We only had one for the first year.
I got it. Okay. So you're a month-to-month tenant.
Yes.
When was the last time that rent was paid?
William?
That would be, oh geez, what are we in?
We're in January.
That was January 1st, 2024.
Of this year?
Yes, Your Honor.
So they're up to date in their rent?
Yes.
Now, I don't see what the basis was for your protective order.
For the protective order, we ordered it because in the previous year...
No. I want to know him, not you. Him.
Why was it filed? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, you need facts for a protective order.
Because Donald followed me around. He was harassing me. He would not leave me alone. He kept coming over, asking questions, and just being rude. I would be sitting in the garage. He'd come walking up, and he'd be demanding things out of me, and just... He knows I'm bipolar, and he knows that kind of interaction is very hard for me.
I think you should move, actually. I actually think that you should move.
I'd love to.
Well, you should. You're not paying any rent. You might as well not pay rent someplace else. Take them with you. If you have issues and they're exacerbated by the plaintiff, move. You've been there 12 years. You got somebody else to pay the rent. Move. Okay. Anyway, the maximum jurisdiction for this court. And I'm dismissing your case against Mr. Crowcroft. Do you understand?
Okay.
Nothing happened was a result of this protective order. What happened to you was a result of Mr. Callahan's false reporting to the police that you had a weapon, which could have resulted in a tragedy, which caused you to be removed from your home, as per directed by the police. You say that neighbors came out, I'm sure when the police arrived. There was more than one police car or just one?
5.
5 police cars. At what time in the night?
12:30.
In the morning?
Yes.
Yeah. Frightening. Frightening for anybody. More frightening for somebody in their 70s, and absolutely outrageous because you consciously lied to the police. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. We're finished here. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I'm not truly in agreement with them because the police did try to bring up charges against me, but they dropped those because they found the video was edited.
I was very happy with it.
There's a lot of information that was missed out on.
I hope it sets an example for people that make false police reports.
Mr. Sullivan's always been a very hostile person, and this is just a continuation of that.
The incident happened the day after they were served their eviction by the sheriff's department.
No, the eviction was thrown away, and his son actually took over the property and has begun remaking the repairs because his eviction was retaliatory against us for calling code enforcement because the house is just withering away, and he just sits there with his hands folded and does nothing.
Well, I was ordered to come out of the house with my hands above my head.
At that time, I didn't see a firearm in his hand. What I had reported to the police was I was approached aggressively by Mr. Sullivan.
And they said it's a very serious matter. When I come out of the house, they ordered me to lift up my shirt and turn around and told me that they'd probably be coming back to arrest me.
I told them to be wary. He does own firearms, and they took that as me saying he had a firearm that night.
I was accused of pointing an AR-15 at a tenant that I'm trying to evict.
I never claimed anything about an AR-15 with the report. I just stated to the police on the phone that he had weapons.
My little sister was crying in the house because she thought my dad was going to jail. I was calling up my family, telling them that we might need to go somewhere because I thought my dad was going to jail.
Don't lie to the police, and definitely do something about your roommates being assaulted before it's too late.
I'm just happy to be alive, and I'm happy to have it over with.
Very surprising to me that after doing this investigation, which was clear from the police report that I read, and he confessed to lying to the police to get the police to the house, lying about somebody having an automatic weapon, that they didn't arrest him.
Yeah, I mean, I think he might have said they did arrest him, but then they didn't end up charging him.
Right.
But I'm surprised that they didn't follow through on charges. I mean, he's just lucky that on the way to the home, 5 police cars speeding, didn't hit anybody, hit another vehicle, get in an accident. Lucky nothing more serious happened to the plaintiff either as a result of the false reporting, because then it's not just an oopsie. Then you have a big problem on your hands because of a lie that you told police knowingly.
Yeah.
So
it is surprising to me that they didn't follow through.
Yeah, I thought
they dispatched 5 police cars. That alone should have made the police annoyed enough to at least follow through.
Exactly. I thought that was a more serious crime, reporting falsely to the police, than they seem to have treated it as.
Yeah.
Lillian Rogers, is suing her ex-boyfriend's parents, Jody and Robert Denniston, for insurance money after her property was destroyed in a fire.
Court can order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3054, Rogers versus Denniston.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. Rogers, let me see if I understand what your position is. You were in foster care for a long period of time, and at some point you met the defendant's son and became involved with the defendant's son. In what year was that, and how old were you?
June of 2019, I had just turned 18.
And I assume that you either decided to or you had aged out of the residential foster care system, and you were invited to live in the defendant's home.
Yes, ma'am.
And you lived in the defendant's home from June 2019 until when?
Until October of 2021, when the house fire occurred.
And what were you doing between 2019 and 2021?
As in occupation?
What were you doing? Were you in school? Were you working? What were you doing?
I was doing full-time school, and then I had a couple of jobs here and there.
What full-time school?
I was in school to become a social worker for foster youth.
In what months were you in school and year?
August 2019, all the way up until now.
Okay. And who was paying for your school?
The state of California.
Are you almost finished with a degree?
Yes, ma'am.
What school?
I'm going to Stanislaus State in Turlock.
Is that where you were going to school when you were living with them?
I went to a junior college with them, and then halfway through living with them, I switched to Stanislaus State, which is 4-year.
Were you receiving housing subsidies from foster care or just tuition for school?
The last 3 months up until I turned 21, I was receiving house subsidy.
And how much were you receiving from the state as a housing subsidy?
I only got $1,000 3 times.
Did you use that housing subsidy to give any portion of that money to the defendants?
I used a portion of it. They had requested $150 a month.
Starting when?
Starting October 2020, they started requesting $100 a month in order to pay for PG&E, gas, electricity.
And did you pay it?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, this is the lawsuit. There was a fire in the house, and it is your claim that $6,000 worth of your property was destroyed. You had no renter's insurance.
Correct.
And it is your claim that the defendants used receipts that you had given them to put into insurance, and they were reimbursed by insurance for your claims but never gave you any money.
Correct.
That's what the case is about. My first question is, how do you know they were reimbursed for your claims?
I had submitted any and all receipts for the insurance company. In September of 2022, I had broken up with their son in December of 2022. So a couple month time span, I knew that they were moving into their house about 2 weeks after the fact that I had broken up with their son. So after they had moved into their house, after everything was refurnished and rebuilt, that's when I knew that they had gotten paid out.
Well, I'm just asking you, do you have any information from the insurance company that part of the claim, such their bills that were in your name, that part of the claim was actually paid to the defendants?
I had a Google Doc form that the Dennisons had sent me a little bit ago, and it was just them stating that this is how much they think that I deserve from the fire. I believe deserve is the correct word.
Maybe I could take a look at that.
And then I also have all the receipts and everything that I had submitted to the Dennisons.
I may look at that too, but I would like to see the first document that you discussed.
There was actually 2 documents that they had sent me.
I'd like to take a look at it. What's this truck money?
That was on a separate case, Your Honor.
What do you mean it was on a separate case?
I had filed with small claims court 2 separate cases against the Dennisons, one against Mr. and Mrs. Dennison, one against their son, Bryson Dennison.
What's the truck money is my question.
I had bought in him a truck, and then we had totaled the vehicle, and he still had owed me money on it, but I allowed him to get a different truck with the reimbursement from the insurance.
What happened with that case of the $3,300?
It still hasn't got paid to me yet.
What?
It still has not got paid.
Have you gone to court with it?
No, not yet.
Are you scheduled to go to court?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
On the 29th of this month.
And that case is not against the Dennisons, that's against their son.
Yes, ma'am.
That's you?
Yeah.
Okay. This says this makes everything final and done with this payment. We're not talking about the truck. $2,803.17. That's what you said that her items were worth.
Correct.
Did you pay her that?
No, because she did not agree to that amount.
Just a second. But that's what you offered her. $2,803.17.
Correct.
Lillian Rogers claims her ex-boyfriend's parents, Jody and Robert Denniston, owe her money from an insurance claim after their home was destroyed in a fire.
What is this broken items, hole in the wall of being paid with washer and dryer that we didn't take out of the house? They were Rob's sisters and given to their son for use, value of at least, what is that?
That's regarding the second case, Your Honor. I was being
That has nothing to do. All I want to know is this whole document that you gave me has to do with a lot of other stuff.
Correct.
Yes,
I was the mediator between the two of them.
Okay, but the $2,800 was for the fire damage.
Correct.
For the receipt for the fire damage.
Correct.
And all of this other stuff has to do with the truck.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well then, if you add $2,800 to the $3,300, the truck money, that's what you're suing for here.
No. No, ma'am. I ended up going ahead and printing out all the documents and all the receipts that I had produced to the Dennisons regarding the fire contents money, and I had added everything up. And then I also had their spreadsheet that they had submitted into their insurance company that has my name as well as everybody else in the household's name on it.
Okay. Was any of the property that you lost reimbursed to you by the state of California?
No, ma'am.
Nothing.
No.
What was the date of the fire?
October
1st,
2022.
21.
21.
Well, in June, you ordered things online, and you had shipped to you a body oil moisturizer for $13. This happened in October. You think that they're going to reimburse you for that? It's not happening. I want you to get your act together. That's not happening.
So what we were told from the insurance adjusters was any and all receipts that we had, and I only had online receipts, unfortunately, due to the pandemic.
What?
I only had online receipts due to the pandemic.
What I'm telling you is...
So I was told to produce any and all receipts I had of everything that we had in the house, regardless if it was 2 toothpicks or...
Oh, well, that's not happening.
A mattress.
That's not happening. Not happening. There was a fire in the house, Miss Rogers.
Yes.
The insurance company paid for the family to go to a hotel.
Yes,
Is that right? Did you contribute to that?
I paid my rent.
For how long?
I continued paying it until we left.
While you were in the hotel?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, she paid the $150.
How did you come up with the figure of $2,800?
It was in one of the insurance documents. It had listed in red on that form that she gave you, the depreciation of value. I had added a bunch of those items that she showed you on that first document that had Lily's name on it. It came to that amount minus the depreciation amount, and then that was the actual cash value is what they actually paid us.
May I see that in writing? That'll make my life a lot easier, and I don't have to go through
It's a huge document that I have on my email.
Okay. Did you share that document with her?
Did I share it? No.
Okay, I'd like to take a look at it. Where are you living now, Miss Rogers? Where are you living now?
I'm living technically in a barn right now, but it's a refurnished barn. And then to add clarity, I would like to mention that I said to add clarity, I would like to mention that as far as my knowledge is, the Dennisons, they had replacement insurance, which means that their depreciation value didn't matter as long as I went and purchased the same item and then brought back receipts to the insurance company.
Well, that may be them, not you.
Oh, absolutely.
That may be them, not you. You're not an insured. You sound like a smart gal. You were living there. You were paying rent. There was no negligence that caused this fire, I would assume.
No, ma'am.
On October 29th, after the fire, you bought an iPhone Pro Max
Yes.
for $1,200.
Yes. So From my understanding of a house fire, the only thing that burnt down was the garage. However, there's fire damage, there's fireman damage, and then
I want to know what happened to your phone.
Is smoke
You
damage.
had your phone.
Yes. So as far as the smoke damage, any electronicals and
No. What happened after the fire on October 1st?
Yes.
You moved into a hotel.
Yes.
Did you use your phone between the time of the fire and October 21st? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
Okay. Then you had no right to buy another phone for $1,200.
Yes, ma'am. So according to the insurance agency, as well as the firemen and the police department, anything electronical within the house, the stove, phones, computers, anything else.
Not happening for you.
Okay.
Not happening for you.
Okay.
I don't have to see it. I just made up the difference. Yeah, I've just made up the
I also have a list of items.
I went through enough of this to see where we're at.
And she did receive money from the state. My daughter, who's here in court, was a witness to her receiving gift cards from the state, from social services, to replace her items that were lost in the fire, such as clothing.
Did you receive any gift cards from the state?
No, ma'am.
I assume you were friends while she was living there?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me your first name.
Kaylee.
Tell me about what you know about receiving gift cards from the state.
So the social worker came over to the house and was giving her a gift card to, it was either like Kohl's or JCPenney's, one of the sorts, which Lily then...
Just a second. Did you see the amount of those gift cards?
I did not see the amount, no, ma'am.
Easy. What was the amount of the gift card?
I did not receive any gift
Was a
cards.
social worker at your house?
The only time she's ever visited the house, which was in, I believe, August of 2021. That's the only time she's ever been to the house.
When we were living in the Airbnb, the social worker did come after the fire had occurred. She came over and then...
Do you remember what the name of the social worker was?
I do not.
Sit down. Stand up. I get...
Lillian Rogers has accused her ex-boyfriend's parents, Jody and Robert Deniston, of owing her money from an insurance claim. Jody and Robert say they tried to pay Lillian, but she is being greedy.
Tell me your first name, please.
Bryson.
Bryson, did you, while you were still living with Miss Rogers in the hotel or thereafter, after the fire, did you discuss with her any subsidy that she received as a result of the fire from the state?
No.
When, for the first time, did you ever hear about these gift cards?
It was when the lawsuit was filed. She never told me about any of that.
She never did?
No.
And neither did your sister?
No.
Good. Very good. Sit down. Thank you. Okay. Just show me, would you, for a moment, what you're referring to with regard to the depreciation value of the items?
The depreciation value?
Yeah.
Oh,
and how you got to the $2,800, which I think is probably reasonable.
It's on that big file that's downloading.
If I may, Your Honor. So everything that I had in receipts right there is just everything that I had purchased online, not talking about anything that I've ever purchased from within the home for the Denistons, for myself, anything in store. Me and Kaylee Deniston, we were quote unquote shopping buddies, and we'd go shopping every single week.
I don't care. All I'm telling you is I looked at one major charge. There were charges for $13 for hand moisturizer and toothpaste. Yes. That go away.
Yes.
You know, you use them up, but you had no reason to go to Apple to buy a new phone for $1,200 in a service plan. The fact that an insurance company person indicated to you that if there was a problem and if there was smoke, you could replace electronics, doesn't mean they're going to pay for it. And until you can produce evidence for me, and there's nothing here, that you put in claims for $6,000 and they got $6,000, which you cannot establish in what you gave me. Do you understand? I get a little bit leery when bills are, bills are padded, especially when these people took you into their home, you lived there 2.5 years, you paid a nominal rent, you bought an awful lot of stuff, which means that you spent your housing, the $3,000 that you were supposed to spend in, and I don't know what other monies you were getting from the state because you had to get some money to live.
No, ma'am. I had aged out of foster care and I was not eligible for any benefits outside of foster care besides the last 3 months of me turning 21. And by that point, I had to rebuy all of the items I've ever had because everything I've ever owned was in that house.
I know the feeling. I was just saying, I know the feeling. We lost everything in our home, too.
So that's where that $3,000 went to.
It's still downloading. What document I do have is her list, and I itemized what was hers, what was a gift, and what was not. And that's what has the totals on the bottom. No, I don't have that. It was like 2,000 pages long.
Could you explain to me, I'm just curious, why are there 4 items here for iPhones?
That's what she's claiming, that she had bought all those phones. That's the list that she had given me of items that she had receipts for.
There were 1, 2, 3, 4 phones
No,
on
ma'am.
this.
I only had turned in the receipts for Bryson Denniston and I's phone. However, on our account, there was the other 2 phones within the home. It was still within the home.
Just a second.
So they got ruined.
Just a second. Are these items that you listed?
Those are the items with the receipts I helped produce to the Dennistons, correct?
So these are items that you said you should be reimbursed for?
Not me personally, because I didn't buy 2 of the phones.
Which 2 did you buy?
I only bought the first 2.
The 2 expensive ones for $2,500?
Yes.
Goodbye. $2,800, which is what they offered you. That's what you're getting. Goodbye. We're done here.
This court is adjourned.
I'm glad that I was awarded something. It is unfortunate because I did lose everything that I did have in the fire, but it's okay because we can always rebuild and renew and everything else in between.
I still feel like we didn't know her anything because she didn't have a renter's policy. She wasn't on our homeowners, but I agree.
I was alone in the house with their son, and it was a pretty scary experience. Thank goodness that a couple of us were home, so not everything in the whole house was tarnished. They were able to keep a couple of their personal items, so that was really nice.
I'm a little hurt. I opened up my heart, my home, my family are just good nature, and to have this happen, it's heartbreaking.
They absolutely did help me out, and I do appreciate them for everything. Unfortunately, there's a backstory to everything, of course.
I'll still continue to help people. It's our good nature. It's what we do as human beings.
But there's her side, his side, his side, and the truth. And what's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong, and not giving me my portion is wrong.
She's just a greedy little brat. Entitled.
At the end of the day, if they're keeping my money, isn't they're trying to be greedy?
It seemed like the defendants were really cared for the plaintiff, allowed her to move into the house, had a good relationship, didn't even charge her any rent until they decided that they had adult children that should start contributing to the home, and they included her in with their own children in the responsibilities to pay a nominal amount of rent. So it's always tough in situations like that when we see plaintiffs such as this one suing people who you and I look at as their saviors. They gave you a warm place to sleep, they fed you, you had a roof over your head, you know, all of these things that they lost everything too in the fire. I don't think that they were unreasonable. She went with them to the Airbnbs and the hotels afterwards. They didn't leave her out on the street. So I couldn't imagine suing somebody after all of that unfolded.
No, it's probably had to do with a very bad breakup of the relationship that they had with the son. But I think the bottom line lesson is if you have things that are valuable and if you are a renter, and even though she was paying a nominal amount of money, it's still rent.
Sure.
That renter's insurance, especially if you have very little, is very inexpensive. Mm-hmm. And you should have it.
Yeah.
And young people don't think about that.
Until it's too late, usually.
Right. You've rented once.
Once. And even I was ignorant to the fact that you should have renter's insurance. And I was lucky that nothing like this happened. But having now seen the different scenarios that can unfold, definitely in the future, I'll get renter's insurance anywhere I rent.
Smart.
Yeah.
Grecia and Juan Galvan are suing their neighbor, Ruben Alonso, for vet bills after their dog was attacked by Ruben's dog.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3060, Galvan versus Alonso.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Galvan, that's your dog. Your dog's name is?
Yogi.
Yogi. And this is your dad?
Correct.
Miss Galvan, you and Mr. Alonso are neighbors.
Correct.
He lives across the street from you?
No, so he's actually 2 doors over to the left. So his house is the green one on the right side, and mine is the yellow on the left.
Pink house is in between. How long have you lived in your house?
About 15 years now.
And your dog is 13?
Yes.
And Mr. Alonso, how long have you lived in your house?
7 years.
Who do you live there with?
With my wife and my kids.
How old are your children?
My oldest ones are 17 years old, and my youngest one's 13. And my forgot to say my son, Jason Alonso. He's 24 years old.
He lives at home?
Yes.
And you have a dog?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of dog do you have?
He's an American Bully.
American Bully is a combination pit bull and what?
Between a pit bull and an English bulldog.
A male dog?
Yeah, male dog.
How old is he?
He's 4 years old.
How long have you had him?
4 years.
How much does he weigh?
70 pounds.
And his name?
Max.
It is your claim, Miss Galvin, that your neighbor, Mr. Alonso's dog, bit and severely injured yours.
Correct.
Also causing some injury to your dad.
Yeah.
Mr. Alonso says that his dog was on a leash, your dog was not, and whatever fight or scrapping the dog has and the injuries to your dog were therefore not his responsibility because
That's
your
not
dog
true.
was off leash. That's your defense.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this incident happened when, Miss Galvin?
On the morning of April 28th at 4:30 in the morning.
4:30 in the morning?
Correct, yeah.
What was everybody doing up 4:30 in the morning?
I work at 5 a.m., so I was heading out to work.
And what was your father doing up at that hour?
He too works at the same company, so we carpool together, and he was walking my dog for me.
Would you ask Mr. Galvin to tell me what happened at about 5 o'clock on April 28th of this year when you were walking Yogi?
Estaba caminando mi perro.
I was walking my dog.
En el momento en que abrí el gate, estaba abriendo el gate.
At the moment that I opened the gate, I was opening the gate.
Could you walk up to the photograph and show me where you were?
Aquí.
You were over there.
Right here.
Estaba abriendo el gate.
I was opening the gate.
Oí pasos corriendo. Cuando volteé, miré al perro del señor.
I heard steps of something running. When I turned, it was the man's dog.
Where was the dog coming from?
De aquí.
From here.
Could you see Mr. Alonso?
No.
No.
Just the dog?
It wasn't true.
Perro cuando ya.
Shh, Mr. Alonso, you're going to have a chance to tell me your version of the events.
Miré al perro cuando ya estaba encima de nosotros.
I saw the dog when it was already on top of us.
Volteé y me golpeó en las piernas con el cuerpo.
I turned and it hit my legs with its body.
Me tambaleó y quedé recargado en el gate.
It made me tumble and I leaned against the gate.
Ya cuando reaccioné, el perro ya estaba atacando a mi perro de la espalda.
When I came to, it was attacking my dog on its back.
Fuertísimo. Lo movía feo.
Very harshly. It was shaking it badly.
Traté de estarlo auxiliando, quitarlo.
I tried to help him and to pull it off.
Why don't you step back now so that... Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Traté de estarlo sacando. Llegó mi hija a auxiliarme.
I tried to help, and my daughter came to help.
Y estuvimos forcejeando.
And we were struggling.
Stop one moment. Miss Galvin, at what point did you observe this interaction between your dog and Max?
Instantly. I was walking out of my house, and I have full visual of my entire driveway, and I immediately saw when my dog started crying for help. The defendant's dog, Max, was mauling him and viciously attacking him.
What I want to know is when you came out of your house, because you didn't see how it started, you saw that Max was on your dog at that point. Did you see Mr. Alonso?
No.
I would like you to walk over. Your father will take him. Just walk over there and show me where you were when you came out and where your dad was with your dog.
Our front door is right about here, and I was walking out, and my father was here.
Right on the corner near the...
Opening the gate, correct.
Okay. Now you can go back. Miss Galvin, at what point did you see Mr. Alonso, if at all, that day?
After a few seconds of us trying to separate the two dogs, he did come out and try to...
So you saw him coming from his house?
Yeah, he was running from his house.
Running?
More or less.
And what happened when he got to where the two dogs were?
Well, the dog was unleashed and without a collar, so the defendant grabbed his back legs, and attempted to separate the two.
Was he successful?
At the time, yes.
So Mr. Alonso grabbed his dog's back legs and pulled him off yours.
Correct, yeah.
And then what did he do?
At that instance, my father picked my dog up through his leash, almost strangling him, to put him on the car that was outside for his safety. The dog, Max, then lunged at my father. I intervened by kicking for his safety, and I got bit in my shoe.
It's not true, Your Honor.
When you say you got bit by Max.
Correct.
Did it go through your shoe?
No.
But
I did get bit, and I felt it.
Okay, but it didn't pierce your skin?
No. My main concern was my dog's damages.
Okay. And Mr. Alonso was finally able to pull his dog off yours?
Correct.
And off
actually
you?
Got dragged on the cement and
Who
the
did?
sidewalk. Mr. Alonso. His dog is very, very strong.
Would you show me, go back to there and show me, Miss Galvin, when you say Mr. Alonso got dragged, show me where. I saw where the incident took place in the corner.
Correct.
And where did his dog drag him? I wanted...
Grecia and Juan Galvan claimed their neighbor, Ruben Alonso, owes for vet bills after Ruben's dog attacked their dog. Ruben says his dog was the one attacked.
Where did his dog drag him?
So everything started here. We eventually tried separating the dogs towards this way. Mr. Alonso was dragged from this area down. The car was parked here, so we managed to put the dog on top of the car, and Mr. Alonso was on the floor wrestling his dog to control him.
You took your dog to the vet?
Immediately, yes.
You have the vet report and bill?
I do.
May I see it, please? Kevin?
Thank you.
So your vet bills look in total to be about $4,600.
About 58, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, I may have missed one.
He suffered a level 4 bite wound, and from
he was very seriously injured. There's no question. He was very seriously injured, spent a long time in the hospital. Okay, Mr. Alonso, the ball is in your court, sir. I'd like to hear your version of what happened.
The date on April 28, what happened, I was walking my dog with the leash. That's what I usually do every day before I go to work.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Don't speak.
That's what I usually do.
I don't care. Mr. Alonso,
Yes.
I want you to understand something.
Yes.
I don't care what you usually do.
Okay.
And there are certain things that are common sense.
All right.
Do you understand?
Yes. Okay, I was on April 28, I was walking my dog on a leash.
And I also want to tell you to be very careful what you tell me.
Okay.
Very careful.
Okay, April 28, I was walking my dog on a leash.
Show me where you were.
I was walking to the left, right here. That's my house on the green.
I know where your house is.
Okay, I was walking to this. When I noticed that the gate was open, and then when I was getting close by, her dog started coming out, barking to the sidewalk, biting my dog in the legs. Okay, biting my dog in the legs. Then when I start pulling out my dog from their dog, that's when Juan and Grecia came out. So they start grabbing their dog too. Okay, Grecia even apologized after the dog to the vet. And then later on, when she received the bill, she wanted me to pay her back.
Your
I said,
Honor.
shh, shh, shh. I said I wasn't gonna pay her back because it wasn't my fault or my dog's fault. They leave the gate open and their dog got unattended.
I want to tell you something. I do not believe you.
Why not?
I don't answer questions. I get answers to questions, and then I have to say to myself, these two people, they were going to work at 4:30 in the morning. You were out at the same hour. Do you work at that hour?
I was about to go to work too. That's what I was taking my dog out.
There are other adults in the house.
Yes, I have 2 more.
Okay. They were all sleeping at 4:30 in the morning?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you opened your door, and you have to understand, sir, I am particularly unabashedly sensitive to pit bulls who are unleashed or not watched. Your dog is 4 years old. I don't know. I assume you have had no prior incident with your dog.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
That's not true.
We'll get to it. Last article, I keep them in my desk drawer, about pit bulls was a baby, a 3-month-old baby, left alone for a second with a pit bull. The pit bull gnawed off his hands. That was last week. So you have to understand that I'm particularly sensitive to a large animal that's capable of causing serious injury, being unattended for a second. You answered my question very quickly whether your dog Max had any prior incidents. You said no. Plaintiff seems to say that that's not true. Now, she's going to tell me about a prior incident, unless you want to tell me about it first.
I never noticed or nothing. Nobody informed me about another accident or nothing.
Your answer is you don't know about a prior incident with your dog.
Yes, I don't.
Is that
know
right?
about it. Yeah.
Why don't you tell me what you know?
First things first, I have an animal control report that proves his statement of his leashed dog incorrect.
May I see it, please?
This is the second attack. Sorry about that.
Well, this recites your version of the events.
Correct.
And the report indicates you're Ruben, is that correct? Yes. That you ran out to the scene to try to separate your dogs. Did you speak to animal control?
Yes, I did.
You spoke to them on what date?
2 days after.
May 1st.
Yes.
So you spoke to them?
Yes.
Then this write-up incorporates what you told them, which is consistent with what Ms. Galvin testified to, sir. Okay, I don't know where you are showing me that this was not the first instance.
So the first instance was about a little bit over a year ago where his dog attacked my dog and he didn't break skin. So animal control refused to create an actual incident report.
Tell me when that was. That was about a year ago.
Yes, so it was actually my mother who was walking my dog. I was out of state at the time. I have a witness statement if that helps for anything, but my mother was walking the dog where his dog was...
You were not there?
No, but...
Then I can't take that evidence because it's hearsay.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Okay, I understand. The second attack was on a 10-year-old German Shepherd walking in front of our house, walking on a leash by his owner. And again, the dog was out loose, without a leash or collar, where he attacked the German Shepherd.
Was that within the year?
Late January, yeah.
Late January of
Correct.
this year?
Only 5-6 months ago.
Did you observe that?
I did. I assisted in separating and keeping the German Shepherd safe.
Who came out of the Alonso house to retrieve their dog? Was it Mr. Alonso or his son or one of the other children?
I think it was his younger daughter.
What's your younger daughter's name?
No, I got two. They're twins. So I don't know which one she's talking about. Because I never...
Well, you know them both, right?
Yeah, I know them both.
Just a second. Listen to me carefully.
Okay.
You know them both. Mr. Alonso, I don't want you to play with me.
I'm not playing with you, Your Honor.
So there's no question that if anything happened with a German Shepherd and one of your twins, who were not babies, came out and retrieved your dog, they would have told you about it.
I haven't heard nothing from that.
Really?
He was involved, Your Honor.
What?
I spoke to him about the situation just days after the last incident with him. I brought the German Shepherd and the owner, and
Where's the proof?
Grecia and Juan Galvan have accused their neighbor, Ruben Alonso, of owing for vet bills after his dog attacked their dog. Ruben claims their dog was off leash and started the fight.
Just a second.
He said, "Your dog barks a lot, that's why my dog attacked him." Your Honor, if my dog knew how to talk, we wouldn't be here.
Just a second. When you say that after this attack on your dog, the serious one.
Correct, yeah.
You brought the German Shepherd. Whose German Shepherd was it?
Somebody that lives in our community.
And the owner?
Yes.
To see Mr. Alonso?
Correct, because Mr. Alonso said that my dog was barking too much, and that's why Max attacked him.
Okay, so now you bring the German Shepherd. Your dog, Yogi, is at the vet.
No, this is a few days post-op. My dog was recovering inside, indoors.
Okay, so your dog is indoors, but wasn't with you when you went to confront Mr. Alonso with the German Shepherd?
Yes.
And the owner of the German Shepherd?
Correct.
Okay, and can you tell me what Mr. Alonso said during that confrontation about the German Shepherd? Not your dog. What did he say about the German Shepherd?
Nothing. His demeanor was very aggressive. He turned, he was up putting on some cameras in his home. He turned, did not say a word, and turned back around. And his son was there as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Stand up. Over there, please. Your first name?
Jason.
Jason, do you remember Miss Galvin coming to the house? Your father was there. She was there with a German Shepherd and its owner. That's a yes or a no?
Yes.
Okay. Were you close enough to hear the conversation? That's a yes or a no?
Yes.
Did you hear the conversation about your dog at some point having a confrontation with the German Shepherd?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Tell me what you heard.
The plaintiff ended up bringing the owner of the dog over, and
The owner of the Shepherd?
Yeah, the owner of the Shepherd. And he said he didn't want to start no problems or nothing.
He didn't want to?
He didn't want to start any problems.
Who said? The owner of the Shepherd?
The owner of the Shepherd.
The owner of the Shepherd said,
He said it was an accident and stuff happens, and he didn't want no problems with this.
I want to know, before he said that, what was said about Max attacking the Shepherd?
The plaintiff was claiming that
Plaintiff said
that Max bit the German Shepherd.
Okay, and the German Shepherd and the German Shepherd's owner was there.
Correct.
What did your father say?
He was just quiet during the instance.
Just a second. So he said nothing.
Correct.
Did you say anything?
At the current moment, I was actually holding the ladder stand because he was on a 10-foot ladder installing cameras. That is very unsafe for me to try to tell him anything.
Just a second, did he come down from the cameras?
He was still installing the cameras as they came up.
Well, now there are two people there. One person there with a dog that he knows has been seriously injured by his dog, and a German Shepherd who I'm absolutely positive that one of your sisters discussed with him had an incident some months before. Don't say no, because I have to tell you something. You lied to me once. You lied to me once, sir.
That accident wasn't nobody said nothing to me about it. That's why I didn't talk to the guy, because I don't know if she...
Well, you talked to her. What I'm telling you, Mr. Alonso, is you lied to me once. I believe nothing else. Certain things are common sense. I have children. I've had dogs. If one of my dogs was involved in an incident, and I was involved in separating them, and I was involved in making the situation better, when my parent came home from work, I would say, let me tell you what happened. And they would tell you. Or they would tell their older brother what happened. And the older brother might tell you. But somebody would tell you.
It wasn't brought to my attention.
Wasn't brought to your attention. I'm going to bring something to your attention. Do you have homeowners insurance? Do you own your house?
I don't own a house. I rent the house.
You rent the house. Do you have renter's insurance?
Yes.
Does the renter's insurance that you have know that you have not a French bulldog? Because that's what it says here. Somebody identified your dog as a French bulldog. French bulldog is different from a bully.
I have a license that says it's not even a pit bull. It's an American bully.
It's classified in its own breed.
I actually know what an American bully is. It's not a French bulldog. Do you have a French bulldog?
We do not.
Your Honor, he has 3 in his garage at the time. And sometimes when he illegally breeds, he has 7 or 8 at a time.
It's not illegal.
Not true.
We got papers to prove that.
We're licensed breeders, Your Honor. All of our dogs are purple ribbon UKC show dogs.
That doesn't make this dog any less vicious.
Correct.
Do you understand?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Dog caused serious injury, and either your father is just in a total state of denial or he hasn't been introduced to the truth. I don't know which one it is. Either way, I'm entering a judgment for them for the full amount of their vet bills. Now it's documented that your dog has attacked at least once. And if you let that dog or any of your other dogs out, they're going to take that dog and destroy it. You do know that.
Yes, we do.
And that will be your fault because you're the owner and the responsible person to make sure that a dog that is capable of serious physical injury doesn't injure a person or another animal. That's your responsibility and any other adult who lives in the house. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $6,500. We're done. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Taking the decision was bad. I mean, they tried to consider my dog a pit bull. He's not a pit bull.
She was just, she followed the truth, and that's all we could have asked for.
Their dog got out and started biting my dog, so my dog defended himself.
Mentira, porque él nunca lo miré, el perro apareció de repente sin collar, sin correa, y fue cuando nos empezó a tocar al perro y a mí.
It's a lie. He came and there was never a leash, neither a collar. And that's when the dog started attacking the dog and myself.
Probably set up another fence in front of our yard, probably establish something a little bit more secure than what we have now.
Yeah, I've had him for more than half my life. I mean, that's my companion, my bud, my best friend, and to see him in pain for weeks after was even equally as traumatic as the incident itself.
I definitely would say it be avoided. We will be taking precautions going forward, make sure this doesn't happen again.
The truth always comes to light.
I always say if you choose to get a breed of dog, That's your choice. And if the dog, for some reason, and dogs can go off, attacks you, you're a grown-up, you've made a conscious choice. But when you bring a dog that has the potential of causing serious physical injury or death into a house with young children, I actually think that that should be an absolute liability for people who do know that certain dogs have the capacity to maim, and despite that, they choose that dog and bring a dog into a house with toddlers and infants. I just think that that's so irresponsible. I have a drawer full of those.
I have seen it. I know you too.
Of those cases that just are heartbreaking.
Are you having a family dispute? Go to
069 Finley versus Neal. Please come forward.
Aaliyah Finley is suing her children's father, Jason Neal, for property damage and emotional distress.
Ms. Finley, you and the defendant have 3 children together.
Correct.
And it is your claim that he destroyed some property of yours and that he subjected you to emotional distress.
Yes.
I've had a few husbands who subjected me to emotional distress over the years. Comes with the territory sometimes. I looked at your claim, and I have to tell you, before we even get started, Ms. Finley, because I'm a very fair person, I was unimpressed with your claim, so I really don't know what you're doing here seeking $5,000.
Aaliyah Finley claims her children's father, Jason Neal, owes for property damage and emotional distress.
So let's get to some facts, and I can move on with things that are current and important. Your 3 children are how old?
3, 2, and 1.
And the defendant is the father of all of those children?
Correct.
Did you ever live together?
No.
Who do you live with?
I live alone with my children.
You work?
Yes.
Who takes care of the children?
While I'm at work or
while you're at work?
They go to daycare in between my mother and my sister.
Who do you live with, sir?
I live in the wind.
You live in the wind?
Yes. Whatever direction it's going, that's where I'm
Always wanted to
living.
meet somebody who lived in the wind. Now, my dream has come true. Okay, he destroyed your property. When was the first time he destroyed your property, and what did he destroy?
He vandalized my car.
He vandalized your car?
Yes.
Month and year?
September 29th, 2021.
And what have you been doing since September of 2021? We're now 2 years later.
During that time, my father had died, so it was a lot going on. I have to deal with the death of my father. I was pregnant, and as well, like, my father's from Texas, so I had to travel.
Well, you've had 2 children with him since he vandalized your car.
No, I did not.
1?
1. I was pregnant with our last child when he vandalized my car.
Your child is 1?
She's 16 months. I was pregnant with her.
What else did he do? Oh, by the way, did you drive that car?
Yes, that was my personal car.
Do you still have it?
Yes.
You still have it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you fix it?
No, it was $4,500 to fix the radio.
Well, he's not paying you $4,500 for something that happened 2 years ago, madam. What's next?
After that, he broke my phone.
Month and year that he broke your phone?
It was at our baby shower. It's probably like I'm gonna say like January 2022.
Well, now that's a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you managed to have a baby shower.
Yeah.
Right? So you had a baby shower, and that was after the car was vandalized.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And tell me about the phone. 30 seconds or less.
Okay, so basically, with the phone, I was having a dispute with a friend, and I guess he didn't like what was being said, so he just took my phone to end the conversation and threw my phone.
And threw it where?
On the ground.
What happened to it?
The screen cracked.
Is that the phone?
No.
So what happened to the phone?
It was broke. It was like the screen broke, and it was ink on the screen.
So what did you do? Did you get a new phone?
Yes.
When?
The next day.
You have the receipt?
I don't have the receipt for the new phone I brought, but I have a receipt for the phone he broke.
No, I need a receipt for the new phone.
Well, I don't have that, ma'am.
Well, then you don't have a case. With regard to the phone, what's next?
He broke my necklace.
He broke your necklace. And when did he break your necklace?
Around the same time.
Well, tell me about it.
So this was the event at the baby shower. So he didn't like.
So it was at the baby shower?
Yes.
Was it the same baby shower?
Yes. I made a joke and he didn't like it. So I was like, he's only here because I like made him come. And then he was like, no, I'm here because I love you. And then he grabbed my neck and pulled me closer to try to kiss him, and I didn't want to do that. So my necklace broke.
And this all happened in?
It all happened around this
January of 2022.
Yes.
Mr. Neal, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you remember the date of the baby shower?
Absolutely.
What's the date of the baby shower?
Oh, man.
But you said absolutely. Uncross your arms. What's the date of the baby shower?
I think it was like January 7th.
In whose house?
Of family members.
From January 7th, 2022, Mr. Neal, up until today's date, were you and the plaintiff intimate? Shh. Now, look at me. Is not an answer. That's either a yes or a no. You should remember that.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. And if I were to ask you the same question, Miss Finley, between January when he tried to pull you close and to kiss you and broke your necklace because you didn't want to kiss him, have you and the defendant been intimate?
No.
Yeah, I don't believe that. In any event, whether I believe it or not, you have no case against him. Your case is nonsense. I wrote nonsense when I read it. I still believe it's nonsense.
But are you
Your
sure?
case is dismissed. We're done. Thank you.
Case is closed. This court is adjourned.
I really didn't like it.
I'm feeling the way I look good, man. You know, everything's copacetic.
Because he hates himself.
You know, when you do things, out of spite, you never prevail,
I didn't tolerate it.
Oh, she lied. She, defamation of character. You gonna sit up there and tell him you're not intimate with me. Look at me. How you not gonna be intimate with me?
I hope he just get his life together.
Oh, we keep our space and we continue, gravitate in different directions?
I've been moved on.
Oh, I'm gonna always be there. We're gonna co-parent regardless, but other than that, significant other, nah, I don't entertain that no more.
I feel like because he's in a position where he has nothing, so he wants no one to have anything.
Back in the wind. That's the way I like it. Yeah.
I think that case can be summed up in a moment. You asked the defendant, do you know when your child's baby shower was? And he said, absolutely. He said, okay, what's the date? Let me think about it. That was it.
Yeah. That was a funny moment. That's going to be a TikTok moment.
Arrest, abuse, and emotional distress.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 3090, Clarence versus Williams.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Clarence, from what I've read, you and Miss Williams have known each other since middle school?
Yes, ma'am. Since middle school, we've known each other.
The papers suggest that sometime later, the two of you developed a romantic relationship and you started to live together in 2015.
Yes, ma'am. November 16, 2015.
And you have 2 children together.
Yes, ma'am, we do.
It appears that there was an incident in your home and you were arrested.
Yes, ma'am.
You were arrested for an assault. Was there a weapon that you were arrested for?
No, ma'am, there was no weapon I was arrested for.
It was just an assault?
Yes, ma'am, assault on family member.
Okay. So, Miss Williams, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
Because Mr. Clarence ultimately was acquitted of all of those charges.
Yes.
And that was after a trial.
Yes.
Mr. Williams says that as a result of your allegations, not only did he suffer damages himself, but he wasn't able to see the 2 children for a while because you had requested a restraining order, which was then granted, but later vacated.
It was a protective order, and yes,
And it covered the children?
Correct.
Just for my own information, how long, Miss Williams, did the protective order last so that Mr. Clarence couldn't see the children?
It was for 3 years, but he was able to see the children through visitation.
But how long was it that he did not see the children because of the protective order? Because that's part of his lawsuit.
Okay, so it was...
Mr. Clarence, how long in actuality was it that as a result of the restraining order, you could not see the children?
2 years.
2 years?
Mm-hmm.
That you didn't see them at all?
At all.
It was 2 years.
Okay. So you were living in a home together.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
On Valentine's Day, there was an argument.
Correct.
You called the police.
Correct.
The police responded and told you to leave the house for a while.
Yes.
And you did leave the house.
I did leave with my daughter.
But you have 2 children.
2 children because they told us that we had to split children, or one stays with the other parent, the other one comes with me.
Okay, so you have 2 kids, a girl who's how old?
She was 2 at the time.
And a boy?
He was 4 at the time.
So the boy stayed with his father.
Mm-hmm.
And you left with your daughter overnight.
Right.
Did you come back?
The next morning, yes.
She actually came back that same time at 2 a.m.
Well, the next morning, that's 2 a.m. Don't interrupt again.
I'm sorry.
Okay. So you came back early in the morning.
Yes.
And what happened when you came back?
I stayed in my vehicle with my daughter because I didn't want to go into the apartment. And then
eventually you went into the apartment.
Yes.
What time did you go into the apartment?
Which was 7 o'clock in the morning.
And that was on the 15th of February.
Correct.
Who was home when you got home on the 15th of February?
It was Devon and our son.
Was there any problem on the 15th?
The 15th was when me and him had got into it as far as verbal altercation. He didn't like what I had said to him, and we just started going off, and he came to a point where he just got mad and said, well, you know, why would you say anything like that? You know, I don't care about you. And then we started getting into another argument. Then that's when he had brought out a knife and put it on the kitchen counter and said, if you want to kill yourself, go ahead. I don't care.
Okay, just a second. That was the 15th.
Yes.
Miss Williams, you know, most couples have arguments. Mm-hmm. So something had to have precipitated his statement because according to what you just told me, Mr. Clarence didn't take out a knife, according to what you said, and threaten you with it. He said to you, according to you, if you want to kill yourself, here's a mechanism to use it. What had you said to him immediately prior to that that inspired that? He told you he didn't love you anymore, he didn't want to be with you anymore, and?
And that's when he said he didn't care.
He didn't care, and you said?
And so that's when he had took out the knife.
He said he didn't, no, you had to say something to him that says, well, if that's the way you feel, you go kill yourself. But you had to have said something to him before.
Right. It was the argument started with the kids, but then when he said that, you know, I didn't want you here anyway, you know, it is just, you know, the relationship is pretty much dead, so there's no reason to stay. And if you want to leave, you can leave.
Is that what he said to you, or is that what you said to him? Oh, you said to him. Okay. And then?
And then that's when he said, well, you know, I don't love you no more. I don't care for you. You know.
You said that. And then what happened?
And then afterwards, that's when he had went in the kitchen, because I barely remember what happened after that. Because all I know is that when he had went into the kitchen, that's when he came back and said, okay, you know, you can kill yourself.
Do you recall taking a knife and putting it either on a counter or on a tabletop and saying, if you want to kill yourself?
No, ma'am, I don't recall that.
Okay. But at that point, the police were not called. This was the day after the police had been called. This is February 15th. And Mr. Clarence left the house.
Right.
Right. He left on the 15th. Did he come back?
A week after.
So he was gone for 1 week. Mm-hmm. That brings us to the 20th. Did you communicate with him during that week?
Yes.
By phone?
Yes, text message.
Do you have copies of the text message?
I do not.
Do you have copies? I'd like to see the messages that were
So this is the first
traded
on February.
In that week's period of time. He's standing there, and you're pushing him.
Yes, push.
Devon Clarence claims his ex-fiancée, Safari Williams, owes for a false arrest, abuse, and emotional distress. Safari is countersuing for assault and defamation.
Okay, so this is February the 19th.
Mm-hmm. And I also do have my text messages pulled up here on my phone. I don't get a hard copy.
Okay, good. Tell me if this is what it says. You say to him, I need my keys ASAP, please. That's a week after he left.
Correct.
What keys had he taken from you?
He had taken my house key and my mother's home key. It was on my keychain.
Okay. How did you get into the house for a week?
I never left because he had it.
You mean for a week you weren't out of the house at all?
At all. I had my kids. I lost my job, so I was at home. I had no reason to leave, really.
Just a second. When did you lose your job?
I lost my job a week prior because of the money he had taken out of the account that I was going to pay for to insure my job, because I had little legal issues with my job.
Well, tell me about that. That's not in here.
Yeah. As far as...
losing your job had nothing to do with him.
No, it had everything. Because the reason being is the fact that I didn't have the money, because I was a delivery driver. So I had to pay off a certain citation that I was cited for.
What citation that you were cited for?
It was speeding.
Okay,
citation,
so you got a speeding ticket, which you had to pay. He didn't force you to speed. You did that yourself.
Right. However, I had
and you can't be a driver if they're going to take away your license.
That was the thing. So I had needed the money. He had taken that money out of there and used it to pay somebody else.
I don't know what you're talking about. Taking it out of where? A joint account?
Out of a joint account, yes, ma'am.
Okay. The reason you lost your job had nothing to do with him. The reason you lost your job is because you drove in a way that you got a speeding ticket. Now let's get back to the 20th. So you needed your house keys and your mother's house keys, which he had taken with him.
Yes.
Did you take the house keys?
No, ma'am. The keys that were inside the house were to her mother's house, but her mother had changed the locks previously before. So really, they were just throwaway keys, and the keys were just sitting inside of my glove box for months.
But you went by and you returned the keys?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
He had
now I
taken
want
those
you to,
keys.
what?
He had taken those keys prior because he's always taking things of my possession.
Okay.
That's not true.
So
you asked him for your keys back, which means that during that interim period, the only text messages I see here, you asked him to come back to the house and bring you your keys. And I assume, since there is no history, that your mother's never had a history with him.
Oh, yeah.
A violent history?
It's not a violent, but more so, she had her issues. They both had
I don't care whether they had their issues. So if you needed your keys back, he could have dropped them off at your mother's. He didn't have to bring them to you.
But she didn't allow him on the premises, that's why.
Well, why would you have invited him back on the 20th if you had such a miserable experience on Valentine's Day?
I didn't expect for him to sit there and...
There was an alternative. But he came back on the 20th with the keys. Now, I want you to tell me on the 20th, because this is your counterclaim, you actually claim that he assaulted you. So I want you to tell me what happened on the 20th.
The 20th, I had asked him for my keys back.
Yes, and he came over.
He came home from work. He had dropped off the key, came in, said hi to the kids, tucked them in bed. I was in a room, but that day I wasn't feeling good. So I had to just, excuse myself to go to the bathroom. So I come back out, I see my phone being tossed on the bed by him as he was sitting there reading messages or whatever. So I didn't say anything about it. He just said, okay, I'm about to go. I said, okay, cool. And he kissed the kids and walked out.
So he kissed the kids and he walked out. He walked into what room?
He walked from the back room, our room where we were sleeping at, me and the kids, and he walked to the front door, out the door. So what happened was...
No, look here.
Yes,
he's leaving.
He's leaving.
And?
In a few moments, he had called me, and he asked me, what time is your job interview for the next day? I told him 8:30, and I asked him why. He said, well, I'm moving out. I'm getting all my things out of the house while you're there. I said, okay, well, why? Because the front office is not going to just let you off the lease, Well,
you understand, he hadn't been there for a week.
For just a week, yeah. But I'm just asking because I don't know how we were going to go about it. So that's when he had told me, don't act like I ain't seen you, you ain't seen me reading your messages. I'm tired of you disrespecting me. I'm tired of you disobeying me. I'm tired of you, talking to these dudes or venting and blah, blah, blah. Like, just going at me as if I'm disrespecting him. At this point, you left. So therefore, if I'm talking to a friend, what's the problem? Why are you looking through my phone? And this is nothing that you paid for.
That's true, Snoopy.
Yeah, so you're snooping around. So at this point, he's mad because of what
But he's not in the house.
Yeah, he's not in the house. So afterwards, I say, if you want to leave, stay gone. I don't even care. He hung up in my face. I said, okay, I don't have time for this mess. So I go in the back room, get ready for bed. I put my phone on the charger, and I lay down, and he's knocking on the door really hard. Kids sleep. So I go to the front door, and that's when he opened the door, and he just in my face, don't be disrespecting me, don't be doing that. And I'm just like, okay, bro, you need to get out of my face, first of all. And he just said, okay, well, you know what? Forget it, I'm leaving. I'm just gonna pack my stuff up and I'm leaving. The whole time he's packing his things in the
Okay, so he's packing.
Correct. So when he packed his things, he was just, talking, and he went in the back room. And that's when I had followed him in the back room because he was going to take my things. And then that's when he had came out and said, good luck finding your phone charger. Where's my phone charger? Because it's not on the bed. Where's my phone charger, bro? So I blocked him so he could give me my things. And he said, I don't know. I don't know where your phone charger is. Devon, where's my phone charger? I don't know. Now move. And he did a shoulder thrust. So I'm like, okay, bro. I grabbed his lanyard. He had his work ID. I grabbed his lanyard from around his head.
So you put your hands on him. Just a second. You put your hands on him because the lanyard, that's what it says here.
No.
No, that's what it says in your papers. You acknowledge that.
Oh,
that
so
you grabbed his badge, but his badge was on a lanyard that was around his neck. So you put your hands on him.
So yeah, so it was more so to take his things so he could give me back my phone charger. I need it for my job interview.
So you never connected with him in anything that you did. So
Devon Clarence is accusing his ex-fiancée, Safari Williams, of a false arrest after she assaulted him. Safari claims Devon assaulted and defamed her.
So you grabbed his lanyard, which was around his neck.
It was around his neck, and I took his glasses off his face.
And then what happened?
And then that's when he had turned around, dropped all of his things, and he turned around and he started tussling and then try to get his things. So I said, no, give me my
just
phone
a second.
charger.
So far, what I'm hearing is there was lots of nasty stuff going on. He's packing his things, giving you the best possible scenario. He took your phone charger. You didn't see him take your phone charger, but it was on the bed, according to you, and then it wasn't on the bed anymore.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So in response to that, you put your hands on him twice. Once with a lanyard that had his badge on it.
Right.
And then you grabbed his glasses off his face.
But never hurt him.
Never. Just a second. You put your hands on him. Not in a happy way. You put your hands on him in an aggressive way.
No.
Because, oh yes, if you grab somebody's glasses off their face, madam, and grab a lanyard from around their neck, that's aggressive. He may not have been hurt as a result of that, but you have to know you're not allowed to put your hands on somebody else in anger.
It was not angry. I took him. I didn't touch him or hurt him. It was never aggressive. I just wanted my things back, and I didn't touch him or choke him or anything.
I'm just telling you what the law is. You put your hands on him in an aggressive way because you wanted your charger back, which he had taken, but he had not taken off your person. If he took it, he had taken it from where you left it because he was annoyed that you were texting other guys, according to you, because he had been gone for a week. You can text whoever you like. Okay, so now you've taken his glasses off and you've taken his badge off, which was on a lanyard. What happened next?
After he turned around and he
started to tussle with you, which is what you said.
Things, and then afterwards we fell over the couch. And at this point, he had his forearm on my neck, so at this point, I can't breathe.
No, ma'am.
I told him, get off of me. Devon, you're hurting me. You're choking me. I cannot breathe. Please get off of me. Get off of me.
He's on you with his forearm on your neck.
Yes.
And
so at this point, he gets his things. He grabs his stuff.
Okay, so he's not choking you anymore. And
he gets up and he
look at me.
Put his glasses on. And then at this point, he's standing over me. I'm still on the floor. And I'm telling him to get off of me.
No, he's already off of you.
From me.
He's already off of you, Miss Williams. He's gotten his things. He put his glasses on, which means both hands were putting his glasses on. So he's not standing on top of you anymore.
But he's standing over me.
So he was standing. And?
I push him away. I said, get out, get out. I don't want you here. Get out. Please get out. So at this point, I'm shoving him away from me.
Okay, so again, he's standing there and you're pushing him.
Yes, pushing him off of me. And then that's when he did a close fist and hit me right here on the side of my face.
Okay.
So I passed out. I didn't know, I blacked out. And then after I had gotten up and I cried, I said, why did you hit me? Why would you hit me like this? Like, why? And then he just kept going back and forth.
Back and forth where?
From the front door to the back room to the front door.
Was he taking his things out?
I don't know what he was taking.
Okay, so he's going from the back door to the front door, but he had packed his things.
Right.
Okay.
So I get up, and that's when he turned around, and I can't, right now, I'm imbalanced. I can't even stand up right because he whacked me so hard. So at this point, he stood up and said, you want to fight me? Fight me.
That's not true.
And he put up his hands, so that's when I put up my hands, and then I went to hit him, and then that's when he had started throwing punches at me, like back to back to back to back. And I busted my lip, so...
Okay, so let me understand this. You both got up, and he said, you want to fight me? So you put up your hands, both of you put up your hands, and you went to punch him. That's what you just told me. Missed, I assume.
Missed.
And then he hit you.
Yes.
Okay, so again, you went to punch him.
And I missed. And that's when he...
Okay, fine. Now I got it. And then?
And then that's when he started hitting me.
Okay, so now you're fighting.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And I told him to stop as soon as I saw blood was everywhere, literally on the wall and the floor. And he stopped.
But let me ask you this question. From all this fighting and tussling, was Mr. Clarence visibly hurt anywhere?
No.
Did he have any mark whatsoever?
No.
So you never connected with him in anything that you did. So far, correct?
No, ma'am. I had scratches on my neck, and she did not put her hands up to fight me. She actually threw a car battery at my hands.
No, that is so untrue.
I have pictures of the car battery and it being broken, if you would like to see that.
Okay, I'm going to get to you in a second. Anyway, that's when he left. Did you go to work?
No, ma'am.
What did you do?
So I had to go sleep in my car because I didn't have my glasses.
Where were your glasses?
Inside the house.
So you left without your glasses?
Yes, ma'am.
He had his glasses on that night, the whole time.
Is that what your testimony said?
Shh.
I'm sorry.
I'm not there with you.
Okay. When did you call the police, Miss Williams?
I didn't. He took my phone.
Okay.
He had
well,
taken my phone.
somehow the police were contacted.
I don't know how they were contacted. I had to escape him.
When you escaped him on the 20th, did you take your children?
I took them, yes, I did.
Was he in the house?
He was inside and out of the house. So, Yana, can I add one more thing? So after all that happened, that's when he did leave. I had the opportunity to get his clothes. I put his car battery in the hamper that he was packing his stuff at, threw it outside of the apartment, and then I closed the door, locked it so he wouldn't get in. So at this point, I'm looking for the phone to call the emergency services. However, he goes up to the window and says, "Looking for this?" And it was my phone. So I had to find another device in the house to try to at least get a recording or to find something to say, I have to verify this because I feel like nobody's gonna believe me even if I was, if I made this up. So I had to record it off my son's tablet. I have a video of the injuries of the night that it happened.
Well, you have hospital records because you say that you went to the hospital the next day.
Yes, ma'am, I did. I went to the hospital and they diagnosed me.
No. I want to see the hospital records.
Yes, ma'am.
One.
The two of you are neighbors.
We are.
You filed harassment charges.
He actually screamed outside of my unit, "I hate you." Him constantly talking into my camera or making gestures at the camera.
That's not true.
Spitting, flicking me off.
Who is that?
This is Judy Justice. Douglas Auerbach is suing his neighbor, Rachel Capron, for lost wages, false charges, attorney fees, and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
How are you?
Good. Case 3082, Auerbach Wu versus Caprion.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Auerbach, how long have you lived in your current residence?
I've lived there since 2006, Your Honor.
Do you own it or rent?
I own it.
Would you describe the kind of units it is?
They're condominium units. There's 8 per building.
How many floors?
Pardon?
How many
Two
floors?
floors. Yeah, 4 on each.
And the two of you are neighbors?
We are.
You live on the same floor?
She lives in a separate building, but we're both on the second floor.
Can you see her apartment from your apartment?
No, I can only see her door when I leave my apartment. I can't see her at all.
How far apart are the buildings?
17 feet.
When did you purchase your condominium?
July of 2019.
So you would live there more than a decade before the defendant moved in?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Ever had any difficulty before?
Never.
Okay. It is your claim, Mr. Auerbach, that the defendant, since she moved in, has embarked upon a course of conduct that can only be described, if this is true, serious harassment that has forced you to retain lawyers, that has potentially impacted on your business. You are, I see, a registered pharmacist.
That is correct, Your Honor.
So I'd like you to tell me, sir, when the problem first started with the defendant.
Well, to my knowledge, It started for me May 26, 2022, when a police officer showed up at my house.
Just a second. So the defendant had already been there for 4 years.
Correct.
So people showed up at your door. Who was that?
Officer showed up and was asking me some bizarre questions, strange questions. Are you walking around in the evening? Asked me what my job was, which I thought was strange because I've lived in Fair Lawn since 2006. I file a tax return, so he should know that I'm a pharmacist.
Did anything come of that visit?
Well, he said there were some complaints.
You can't tell me what he said because that's hearsay.
Yeah.
But did anything come from that visit?
Just that there was a complaint from the neighborhood. He didn't say neighbors, neighbor. And so I started asking my neighbors if there was a problem. And that's when I discovered that the defendant was...
Again, don't tell me hearsay. Ultimately, you and the defendant, it became an overt hostility. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
And since Mr. Auerbach doesn't know the genesis of your problem with him, why don't you tell me, when did you start to have, according to you, a problem with him?
Your Honor, I moved in July of 2019. Between July of 2019 and late 2021, I had noticed behavior. Marijuana was not legal in the state of Ohio. It is now legalized. But he was using marijuana outside on a very, very regular basis. Our condo units are very close in proximity. So he would be smoking outside and they'd be coming into my windows. As a matter of fact, I remember coming home from work one day and my entire unit smelled like marijuana. Not illegal, but like it's a nuisance for me.
In what year was that?
That was through the duration of 2021.
Just a second. That started in 2021.
That's correct.
Okay. But you moved in 2019. So in 2019, you didn't have a problem. In 2020, you didn't have a problem.
I had seen him using during those times. But
well, right now, marijuana use is legal. It's not illegal. Not illegal, and according to you, you could only see him outside.
Right in front of my windows.
It was in front of your windows, which, according to you, impacted inside your apartment on occasion. You smelled it inside your apartment. So what did you do?
So late 2021, I had acquired these issues with Mr. Auerbach.
Now, what issues did you acquire with him? So far, you smelled marijuana. What did you do as a result of seeing Mr. Auerbach smoke marijuana or smell it in your apartment when you came home? What did you do?
Late 2021, I overheard Mr. Auerbach and his former girlfriend arguing very extremely. They had actually left their door wide open, and I heard this woman screaming. And knowing that he had been...
Screaming? Just a second. Screaming what?
Just fighting.
She wasn't screaming, ah! She was screaming at him.
That's correct.
He was screaming at her.
That's correct.
Okay, you didn't hear her screaming. You heard two people having a fight.
I heard her say...
You heard two people having a fight.
Yes.
So what did you do?
I called the police.
Okay. Do you recall what it is that you said to the police?
I told the police that there was a disturbing fight happening in front of my unit, and it seemed to be violent. And I was just worried for that girl. And I remember what she was saying, but I don't know if that's appropriate to say here.
Douglas Auerbach claims his neighbor, Rachel Capron, owes for lost wages and attorney fees after making false accusations. Rachel is countersuing Douglas for harassment and emotional distress.
Now, I'd like to know what she was saying. I'm not accepting it for the truth of whether or not she actually said it, but I'd like to hear what you tell me you heard or what you tell me you relayed to the police.
Sure. She had said that he was a predator, was her word, and that he had created a fake Facebook profile to hit on her friend, is the words that I heard from his former girlfriend.
So it was a domestic fight. So that's not screaming. According to you, that's factual. She wasn't screaming, get off me, you're hurting me. They were having a fight about a Facebook page he created that she didn't like. So now you interjected yourself by calling the police, and you were frightened for the girl. So far, she sounds as if she can protect herself, based upon what you tell me. So you called the police. And do you remember when that was?
That was October of 2021.
That's not true.
Say nothing. When did the problems start that you refer to in your answer about the parking spaces in front of your condo?
Yes, so on February 6th of 2022, again, I called the police because of Mr. Auerbach's behavior.
No. You called the police because you heard, saw what?
This was when foreign guests were coming into and out of his home multiple hours throughout the day and the night. I had known that he was a pharmacist just through the talk of the neighborhood. But
well, it's not the talk of the neighborhood unless you're talking or listening. You saw foreign people coming in and out of his apartment, so you called the police.
That's correct.
That was the second call that you made?
That's correct.
Okay. I want you to get to the parking spaces.
Sure.
You don't have assigned spaces in the front of the building, correct?
That's correct.
But in front of your building, there are certain spaces. In front of his building, there are certain spaces, but they're not assigned.
Yes.
According to what I read, he was parking in front of your building.
Once the issues between Mr. Auerbach and myself came up, he started parking all of his vehicles immediately in front of my unit so that when I come home from work, I have nowhere to park. I can choose to park in my garage,
just a second,
but I have no spaces.
When you say the issues arose, he wasn't having any issues with you. At that time, you were having issues with him.
That's correct.
You were having issues with him with smoking marijuana. You were having issues with him with having foreign visitors that you didn't recognize or know. So far, he didn't have any issues with you. Did the police respond on both instances, do you know?
When I called the police in late October of 2021, I know they came out to just do a basic well check. On February 6, 2022, when I called the police for him acting odd and having the foreign people coming in and out of his unit, he actually screamed at my window, "Clean up your dog, I hate you." And at that moment, it was very early in the morning.
Just a second. That was after your second call to the police. What happened next?
I purchased a Ring doorbell camera.
So you bought a Ring camera, and?
I bought the Ring camera, and from that day, I have now to this day hundreds of videos of him harassing me.
And other than these two calls to the police, did you make any other calls to the police about him?
Yes.
How many?
There were 6 total over the last 2+ years, 6 total reports.
Did you ever ask him to park his cars in front of his own building?
No, because at this...
Did you ask anyone else, like the condo association, anyone else, to ask him to park his cars in front of his own building?
I had brought that to the HOA attention.
When you say you brought it to the HOA, you went to the homeowners association.
I did.
And when you went to the homeowners association, in what month and year was that?
Approximately March of 2022.
Did you go to them in person or by mail?
By email.
I'd like to see it.
Unfortunately, I don't have that email.
Do you remember the complaint that you made when you sent an email to the homeowners association?
I do.
Well, in your best terms, what did you complain about?
I just said, you know, I understand that there are no assigned parking spots, but he's got 6, 8 spots in front of his. I have 4. And ever since we've started to have problems with one another, he started parking 1, 2, or 3 of his vehicles in front of mine.
Not true.
And was that the only complaint that you made? Was that all that you said in the email to them?
Yes, it was strictly parking.
Did they respond to you?
They did.
And what was the response?
Parking is not assigned.
Parking is not assigned. Right. Now, there came a point where you filed harassment charges against him, and there was a trial.
That's not true. There was no trial.
You filed harassment charges against. Were you arrested, sir?
No, I was cited, though.
Okay.
I stopped at my house.
And did you both appear at some sort of a hearing with regard to that?
Yes.
When was that?
I filed the protection order on June 29th, 2022.
And you served him. Do you have a copy of that complaint?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. Okay, so So this says, after reporting he has harassed and verbally via telecommunications and has physically stalked me. After reporting his drug use to the police, comments of "go kill yourself," some very bad language, have been made through my security camera. He also flips me off while shouting, again, expletive, into my camera. He watches me from his window when I walk outside.
That's not true.
Now, when you appeared together, what place did you go to? A courthouse?
Yes.
And did you appear before a judge?
Yes.
What month did you appear before a judge in 2022?
I have noted that October 7th of 2022, the charges that he had received were in fact dropped. But when...
Just a second. I'm not there yet.
Douglas Auerbach has accused his neighbor, Rachel Capron, of harassing him and making false accusations. Rachel says Douglas has been excessively harassing her through her Ring camera.
You went together with him to a courthouse. What happened when you went with him to the courthouse?
So the first time we went to the courthouse, we had gone on 2 different occasions. The first time we met with a judge, and I was given the opportunity to testify. I went up on the stand, and I gave her a summary of what he's been doing to me. During this testimony, the judge actually pulled the counsel into the back room. And when she came out, she said, "Mr. Auerbach, I see what you're doing." She said, "I see you looking at her."
I want to know what happened with that case. You testified. You had a lawyer. He had a lawyer.
I didn't have a lawyer at that time.
You said you had a public defender.
Right, a public defender. I hadn't hired.
Just a second. A public defender is a lawyer.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Just because you're not paying for it doesn't mean he or she is not a lawyer. You had a lawyer.
Yes.
And after you testified, what happened?
The hearing was continued.
To another day.
That's correct.
And what happened on the next date, which was when?
The next date was October 7th of 2022.
Okay, and what happened on that date?
So my public defender was there. We just waited, and she came over to me and said that the case was dismissed. I never saw anybody or talked to
just
anybody.
a second. You came back the next time, and your case was dismissed.
Yes.
So do you have a decision with regard to that? Do you have a decision with regard to that? I'm just curious as to what happened.
Well, there was actually 7 court dates that I attended. Those first few were arraignments.
Does anybody have any written document with regard to what happened at that hearing?
I have the court
the
details
decision.
right here
The decision.
with the dismissed.
Well, all it says is dismissed. I don't know.
Well, it's the whole court detail.
Just a second.
It'll illuminate on all the court dates that she's forgotten about.
Mr. Auerbach. Oh, yeah, there were a lot of court dates.
There were a lot.
Shh. You don't have to agree with me, sir. That's a statement. So there was nothing but a dismissal. And it was a dismissal after you testified. After you testified, the case was ultimately dismissed. I'm not entertaining your case because your case has already been adjudicated. It was dismissed, so I'm not hearing that. It's not that it was dismissed on some technicality. You, in fact, testified. Your case against him has already had its day in court. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's get back to false charges, lost wages. Now, Mr. Auerbach, false charges. He has harassed me via telecommunications. Okay, so that's what you say. I want you to tell me exactly what telecommunications you've referenced.
So I have a video that I would like to show on the big screen. If you would...
Just a second. Is that the telecommunications that you're talking about?
Yes. So on the Ring camera, him constantly talking into my camera or making gestures at the camera of my home.
And that was after you called the police several times on the defendant, who was never arrested as a result of any of those complaints. No charges ever filed against him. And then you put a Ring camera in because he said something about cleaning up after your dog. That frightened you. I must admit, I am less than ladylike. I think when I see somebody who's failing to pick up after their dog, as far as I'm concerned, it should be a felony. punishable by 15
I've
to
never
life.
not picked up. I have a little Shih Tzu, and
I'm just telling you. If
Lots of Shih Tzu.
I always pick
Okay,
up.
so now I'd like to see, after you put a Ring camera in, because after you started to have trouble with him, according to you,
yes,
for doing nothing that was illegal, but for which you called the police several times, now I'll see your video.
Standing on my doorstep.
Shh, 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 shh.
Flicking me off, spitting, flicking me off.
That stupid dumb.
This is every day.
Why? Oh, thankful, grateful, blessed. Yeah, we'll see about that. I'm gonna be paying you. Get shot.
Get shot.
You talked to my daughter.
When he attacked my dad.
I never talked to her before. Talk to me. Get me. Talk to me. No. No, man to man. Man to man.
You want to tell me to go kill myself? And my camera call me back? Every day.
Just a second, who are those people?
So the rainbow hoodie is myself. The person with the flannel was my dad, who
okay, so that was your father.
Seconds prior
that was just
attacked outside in the parking lot.
I don't know about that or not. I asked who it was.
Sure.
I didn't see any attack. I saw that you're not getting along. Okay, keep going.
Every day, dude. Why don't you leave me alone? I'm 25 years younger than you.
Anything else?
That's the end of the video.
Thank you.
That's
has
8 of 100.
physically stalked me.
Yes.
I want to know how he has physically stalked you. Is that what I just saw? Or you're talking about follows you to your job, follows you to... Let me hear.
Sure.
Never.
So I have a little Shih Tzu that I walk around my neighborhood, and when I'm walking her, he has gotten into his Camaro, came up right next to us, puts it in neutral, and rums his engine at me as I'm walking my dog, me minding my business, looking straight. I don't say anything back. I just keep going till I get home to my house.
How many times had you called the police on him? Because you see, you hadn't had any trouble with him, which is what I'm having a problem wrapping my head around.
Case 2135, Coleman versus Washington. All parties, please step forward.
Koana Coleman is suing caretaker Jessica Washington for stolen money, travel costs, and elder abuse.
Miss Coleman, how old is your mother?
90.
Do you live with her?
I do.
How long have you been living with her?
3 years.
You're her primary caretaker?
Yes, ma'am.
She suffers from?
Dementia.
For how long?
I identified it in December of 2019. And I just stayed from that point on, sleeping on her couch.
At some point, you had to go out of town for a period of time.
Yes.
You hired the defendant?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you get to her?
My cousin Andrea was friends with her, and she said that she would be a great candidate.
Did you interview her?
I spoke with her later on. She came by the house, and...
What date did you first speak to her?
Maybe about a day or two before I left.
And on what date did you leave?
The 11th of August.
How long were you going to be away for?
About 7 days.
And tell me, Miss Washington, are you employed now?
Yes, I am.
By whom?
Well, I do self-employment, and I also have my own little business on the side as well, you know, caring for elderly people.
Okay. Did you have any special training for the care of the elderly?
I got my AED and my CPR. No, not really, because basically I've been just dealing with family members.
For how long?
I'm gonna say at least like 5 years.
And you had no special training for the care of the elderly? Okay, and did you explain that to the plaintiff?
She knew that.
Don't tell me what she knew. I didn't ask you what she knew.
Claims caretaker Jessica Washington stole money from her mother, who suffers from dementia.
Okay. On what day were you supposed to report her to take care of her mother?
August 11th.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Who was there?
It was Miss Coleman and her mother.
And the arrangement that you made with her was for 7 days, and you would be living with her mother
for 7 days.
And what was she to pay you for the 7 days?
We never discussed a payment.
Well, this is what you were doing for a living, and you had jobs for the last 5 years. Is not an answer. Yes is the answer. And when you work for other people who you'll tell me about, what did you charge them?
I didn't really charge them anything. That's why I'm saying me and her never discussed a price, because she didn't know if I was going to charge her or not. Because I could have watched her mother for nothing, just because. That's family.
Okay, well, this is what the case is about. You watched her mother for 1 day, and then you left. And according to her, her mother fell. When you left, after the 1 day, she had left $400, and you took the $400. That's what she says when you left. Your answer is that you earned that $400 in the 1 day. That's why you took it. You have a counterclaim because she has said to someone that what you did amounted to elder abuse. Now, you started on the 11th. Tell me when you left.
The date that I left was August 12th at 4:30 in the morning because I was put out.
Who put you out?
Her cousin Andrea, which is my godmother, because I called her to help me pick her mother up off the floor, which her cousin told me to leave.
No, you can't tell me what anybody else told you. Prior to 4:30 on the 12th, did Miss Coleman's mother suffer a fall?
Yes, she did.
Okay. And where did she fall?
She fell on the floor. She was sitting at the table where I was sitting at as well, too. I got up to use the bathroom.
At 4:30 in the morning?
We was up all night.
Could you tell me why?
Because she was waiting for her daughter to come back, because before her daughter left out the house, being as though that the lady has dementia and Alzheimer's, they think about the future, the past, and the present. She's thinking that her daughter is coming back because her daughter said, "I will be right back." So that's why she sat up all night long. I was trying to put her to bed. She didn't want to go to bed, so I called.
Okay, so you were there from what time in the morning on the 11th?
I got there at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on the 11th.
So you were there for a little less than 12 hours, right? You came at 5 o'clock in the afternoon,
on
and
the
at
11th.
4:30, and at 4:30 in the morning, you left.
I didn't actually leave. I was told to leave.
But you left.
Yeah, and I didn't want to.
I don't care whether you wanted to or not. It's not particularly relevant whether you wanted to or not. I understand what happened. You left, and when you left, you took the $400 that you found.
Because the mother told me to.
You mean the mother with dementia and Alzheimer's?
Yes, her mother told me to.
Just a second. You mean the mother with dementia and Alzheimer's who you stayed up with 4:30 in the morning told you to take the $400? Okay. Now, you're suing her for a lot more than the $400 because you said you had to come home from your travel. She's not responsible for that. She has to return the $400 to you. You told me 2 minutes ago, Miss Washington, that you never discussed fee.
We did.
Because this is not a question and answer. You didn't even know whether you were going to charge her anything, because as far as you were concerned, it's family. Is not an answer. And you listened to the woman that you had been hired to care for because she has dementia and Alzheimer's and had fallen, and she said to you, take this $400, it's yours. What if she told you to take a piece of her jewelry? Would you have taken that?
No.
Yeah. You would have taken it because she gave it to you.
Because I'm not no thief. I wouldn't.
No, that's not what I'm telling you. You say that you took this $400 because this woman who can't make a judgment told you to take it. What if she said to you, I want you to have my pearls? Why not?
I'm not taking no jury because I have my own. I don't need her jury.
Okay, that's ridiculous. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $400. I'll take a look at the instance that you have on your counterclaim for slander when she says that you are guilty of elder abuse. What do you have to show me?
It's in a court order.
What do you mean it was in a court order?
It is. She went and filed elder's abuse on me, plus the traveling expenses, too. I have that court order.
Just a second. Is that what you're telling me? In her case against you for the $400 and for any other travel expenses, which I'm dismissing, that part of her claim, she said you were guilty of elder abuse. That's protected. Okay, your counterclaim's dismissed. We're done.
Court is adjourned.
I think the judge did a great job. I assume that she would be able to deal with my mother. It's difficult being a caregiver, and we as people need to do much more to protect our elderly.
We've seen a couple of these cases, and it's so unfortunate to see the elderly, and whether they're ill or sick or mentally not capable of caring for themselves anymore, zero training that some of these people have to really care for them. And it's scary. We've seen it too many times. And $400 on the counter to someone to just take it for 12 hours worth of work.
You know, it's always struck me as a shame that society has And the government has created situations where you need licenses to do certain things. You need a license to tweeze someone's eyebrows. You have to be a cosmetologist. You have to have a license. You have to go to school. You have to pass an exam. You need a license to have a dog. But the most vulnerable people in the population, those people who, as she said, she didn't know whether her daughter was coming back or not coming back. She said she'd be right back, so she was waiting up for her. That vulnerable person, when it worked to the defendant's advantage, said, well, she was perfectly capable of saying to me,
take the money.
Take the money. Yeah. Terrible. Really.
Tracy Jennings Spencer is suing her cousin, Chris Jennings, for a loan to cover funeral costs.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2009, Jenny Spencer versus Jenny.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Spencer, are you related to Mr. Jennings?
I am.
How?
He's my cousin.
How?
On our dad's side. So his father and my father. That's how we're related.
How were they related?
So his dad and my father are pretty close in age, but they are cousins themselves. But my dad is pretty young, so they're close. My dad and his father are close in age, so they were more like brothers.
I still don't understand.
My father and his father were first cousins, but I was raised by my grandparents, so that's why we're close.
Okay, so your fathers were first cousins?
Yes.
Okay. Your mother passed away.
Yes, ma'am.
When?
Mother's Day on 2020.
Were you close to your mother?
I was, very close.
Did you live together?
I was taking care of her for 8 years while she was...
So you were living with her?
Yes, ma'am.
How old was she when she passed away?
58.
What did she pass away from?
Her arteries had blockage. She had surgery twice, and they couldn't do the third surgery. Plus, she had 3 strokes.
When you were taking care of your mother, was that a full-time responsibility?
Full-time. She had a colostomy bag, and plus she was in a walker before she had the strokes.
Was it just you and your mother living together?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it in her home?
It was in my home.
In your home?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that an apartment?
It was a house.
That you rented?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you and your mother support yourself?
I'm an RF technician, so I worked when I could be away from home, but when she got real bad sick, where she couldn't even walk, I couldn't even work, so I couldn't even go out of town. So I work on the road a lot. And she gets a disability check, which is about $1,800, which wasn't much at all for us to survive.
Are you back at work now?
Yes, ma'am.
Who are you working for?
Myself. I'm a contractor, Extreme Communications.
When your mother passed away, Mr. Jennings, are you an only child?
Yes, ma'am.
She passed away in the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
At that time, you didn't have money for her funeral arrangements.
No, ma'am.
And you didn't have the funds to even take her body out of the hospital.
No, ma'am.
So what did you do?
Well, I thought I had insurance settlement, and I was going to take care of that, because she did have 2 burial plots. But when we went to...
Who's we?
Me and Angela.
Who is Angela?
She's my fiance. But when we went up there to... we've got 2 burial plots. When we went there to turn those in mortuary, they added on $10,000 or $15,000 to actually bury her. And I was unable to do that because her insurance had lapsed 2 or 3 months. You know.
So you didn't have money to take care of your mother's funeral expenses?
I did not.
Do you want to tell me how the plaintiff got involved with that?
I told Tracy exactly what... Yes.
At some point, your mother passed away on Mother's Day in 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you contact Miss Spencer or did she contact you?
She contacted me.
When?
During the process of me suffering because I didn't have the cash to front my mother's funeral.
Well, you know, it's hard for me to ask the question, how did she know about that? But
yes, ma'am.
Were there other relatives?
I was posting things on Facebook.
Okay. So what did you post on Facebook?
That I was trying to do a GoFundMe to help with my mother's funeral.
And how much after she died did you post something on Facebook?
Nothing much, not at all.
A day, 2 days, 5?
About 3 or 4 days after.
Did you see that? Is that why you contacted him?
That is not why I contacted him.
Okay, so why don't you tell me why? That's not what you said in your papers, so I'm curious. Why did you contact him?
As he said, his mother had been sick for quite some time, so her death wasn't completely unexpected. We had been following her progression on Facebook, and Chris is correct. He had been taking care of his mother. They were very close. But when the family saw on Facebook that she had passed, nothing got posted about funeral arrangements. And some of the members of my family who were not on Facebook contacted me and said,
"Don't tell me me what they said to you.
Sorry.
So you were contacted by members of your family.
Correct, that are not on Facebook, asking about care.
Don't tell me what they asked.
I'm sorry.
As a result of those conversations, did you contact him?
Eventually. I did not contact him immediately because I just didn't feel like it was the right time. I knew.
When? Was it in June?
So it was right after her passing. I contacted his stepbrother and stepsister first because when I had not seen anything for 3 days about funeral arrangements, rather than calling Chris, who I knew would have his hands full handling matters, I actually contacted his stepbrother and stepsister, and I said, do you know anything about funeral arrangements?
Nobody did.
And so they didn't know anything, and suggested that I reach out to Chris. I said, well, I hate to do that. This is a really bad time, but I did it anyway. And so I called Chris, and I said, Chris, I'm sorry to bother you. I know you're going through a lot, but some people are asking me about your mother's arrangements, and I don't know what to tell them. It's been several days. Have you picked out a mortuary? And he started crying immediately, understandably so. He said, Tracy, I'll be honest with you. I don't even have the money to get her out of the hospital. He said, it's going to cost $500 to get her out. I said, okay. And I believed, without a shadow of a doubt, that he truly didn't have the money because they had a very tight relationship. So there was no question in my mind if he had the $500 to get her out, he would have. I said, Chris, it's okay. I'll loan you the money. I'll call the hospital. I'll take care of it. Just calm down. And so we hung up. I called the hospital and I told them, I said, I'm not next of kin, but I'm going to take care of this matter on behalf of my cousin. So here's my credit card for $500. And the morgue told me that I couldn't pay $500, that was only their portion of having her body released from the morgue, that they could only send her body to a funeral home.
Oh, they have to send it someplace. If they're releasing it, they have to send it someplace.
Correct. They said that she had been there for so long that she needed to go within the next day because they can only stay there for 5 days. And
got it.
Sorry. Okay. So they said she needs to go now. And if you don't come get her or have a funeral home come get her, we're going to have to send her to Spartanburg County, and they're going to be in charge of her remains, and the next of kin is at risk of being arrested for abandonment. And so I freaked out. I called Chris back. I said, Chris, I said, it's not $500. I said, they're not going to let us get her, and do you know you're close to being arrested? And, you know, I felt really bad about that.
Where do you live?
Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Just take a look and see if you can find out next of kin responsibility. I'm surprised that you were given that information from the hospital, but I may be wrong.
Morgue. Yes. So I called Chris and I said, the morgue is not going to let us get her body without a funeral home. Do you have a funeral home picked out? And I think at that time he said he didn't. And so he made some phone calls, Chris did, and then he called me back and he said, I found a mortuary. And so the mortuary that he selected was the one that ended up taking care of her remains. And so instead of me loaning him $500 to get her released from the hospital, I ended up getting stuck with $1,500 because I had to pay the mortuary.
Okay. He found a mortuary.
Yes, ma'am.
When you called the mortuary, did they tell you what it would cost?
I didn't call the mortuary to find out anything about that. She did. And she agreed to pay everything.
No, just a second. I'm not getting there.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not there yet.
Yes, ma'am.
So the question is, did you call the mortuary?
I called them to see if they could take care of my mother.
That's what I asked you. I said, did you call the mortuary?
Yes, ma'am.
And after you spoke to the mortuary, you called the plaintiff back.
Sure did.
Okay. When you called the mortuary and she had already told you it would be $500 to get your mother's remains from the morgue, but then you had to take her remains someplace. You couldn't take them in your car.
Right.
They had to go someplace.
Yes, ma'am.
And common sense would suggest that you would ask what their cost was, what their fee was. Is not an answer.
For a cremation.
For whatever. And they told you it was how much?
They told me for the cremation, it was about $1,500 for cremation.
Okay. And then you called your cousin back.
Yes.
And let me hear the conversation, as you recall it, between yourself and your cousin.
Okay. I called her back and told her that I didn't have the money to take care of that. She goes, don't worry about it, Chris. I'll take care of it. It's exactly what was said.
Now, was that before or after you set up a GoFundMe page?
That was before.
So she took care of the bill?
Yes.
So this was 5 days after your mother's death?
Shh. Yeah.
You said it was after. Now, so it was 5 or 6 days before your mother's body was taken to the funeral home for the purposes of cremation. How many days after that did you start a GoFundMe page?
A couple days.
2 days. And what was the language in the GoFundMe page?
To help take care of my mother's funeral.
Well,
and
shh, Mr. Jennings, if what you just said to me previously was, read back to me, Whitney, what Mr. Jennings said about the conversation that he had with her. It started with, don't worry about it.
He said, okay, I called her back and told her that I didn't have the money to take care of that. She said, don't worry about it, Chris. I'll take care of it. That's exactly what was said.
Okay, good. So if she said she would take care of it, why would you post an outcry for money from strangers to bury your mother?
To go during the process of getting that money is exactly.
No. Let's follow what you said, Mr. Jennings. What you told me was that you had the conversation, she took care of the bill. 2 or 3 days later, you started a GoFundMe page for your mother's funeral expenses. Is that not what he said?
Yes.
If it was a gift to you, I'm not understanding why you would start a GoFundMe page.
It's because it wasn't taken care of within 2 or 3 days, ma'am.
What do you mean it wasn't taken care of?
She didn't pay the bill within 2 or 3 days is the thing. That's the reason I did that.
Well, they wouldn't release the body unless they got paid with a credit card.
I understand that, but I was trying to
just
have
a second.
backup.
A backup for what?
Just in case you didn't fall through.
Mr. Jennings, now you're getting cute with me.
For a loan to cover his mother's funeral costs. Chris claims it was a gift.
Now, the plaintiff had to give the hospital her credit card. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So before they released the body, which they had to do within a day, they had her credit card. And it wasn't until after that that you started a GoFundMe page. Okay. And don't raise your hand. And how much money did you receive from this GoFundMe page?
Like $200.
Okay. And you received $200 within what period of time?
Within probably 3 weeks.
How much of that $200 did you give to Miss Spencer?
0.
And your total cost was $1,500. Is that correct? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500.
This court is adjourned.
Well, I'm very pleased that she saw what really did happen.
I think everything went exactly as planned.
I tried to step up in a time of desperation and an emergency situation, and look where it got me.
Everything's fine.
I think we'll be able to move past. I mean, at the end of the day, he's still my cousin, he's still my blood, and I'm always going to love him.
I actually didn't need the answer to that question that I threw out at you with regard to whether a child is responsible for the remains of their parent, because it was just clear, you know, when you get them to do a timeline for you.
A lot of stuff unravels.
It all unraveled because what was the reason for starting a GoFundMe page if, as he alleged in his answer, she volunteered to pay for the funeral, unless he felt an obligation. Now, the obligation had to be as a result of that conversation that he would start a GoFundMe page. Anyway, unfortunate that she seemed like a very nice lady, very responsible, and she was very caring towards him. Shouldn't have ended up.
Frankie Parker is suing his tenant, Miranda Miles, for the cost of a French bulldog.
Mr. Parker, this case is about a puppy that you allegedly sold to the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
That you want to be paid for. She has some sort of nonsense counterclaim.
Yes,
which I will get to and resolve quickly.
Great.
So, Mr. Parker, you have a home that has 2 units in it?
We have a triplex, so it's a house and then it's a triplex behind the house.
So you live in the main house?
Yes.
Behind the main house, there are 3 units?
Yes.
When did you rent one of the 3 units to the defendant?
I rented it to her around February. I think I put the ad in early February.
Of what year?
2022.
Is that correct, Ms. Miles, that you moved into the unit in approximately February of 2022?
It was March, but yeah.
You put the ad in February?
Yes, ma'am.
Moved in March. And what was the rent that you had?
$1,250.
You have children?
Yes.
How many?
1.
How old?
9.
According to what I read, you decided to go into the dog breeding business.
Yes, ma'am.
You knew nothing about dog breeding.
Well, I know about dogs, but I didn't know about French bulldogs. That was kind of new to me.
What is your regular business, sir?
Property management.
Other than the property that you live in, do you have any other property that you manage?
Yes, ma'am.
You're really supposed to be sort of an expert before you go into the breeding business.
Yeah, well, I had
dog
a
breeding
lot of
business.
help.
That's sort of a foolhardy thing.
I had a lot of help. I wasn't by myself. I had people that was already breeding. They had 20 years.
Okay,
30
so
years
you had
experience.
somebody to
Yes,
give
ma'am.
you sort of instruction.
I didn't just jump into it.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And you decided to breed French bulldogs.
Yes, ma'am.
You purchased your first 2 French bulldogs, a male and a female, when?
I purchased them around January.
Of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you bought another one.
Yes, ma'am. Another good
When
female.
did you purchase the other one?
I brought the other female around February.
Okay, that's about the same time that you posted an ad for this unit that you moved into.
Yes, ma'am. All around the same.
And that dog, I believe, based upon my recollection and my memory isn't what it used to be, I think the dog's name is Dolce.
Dolce, yes, ma'am.
How old was Dolce when you purchased her in February?
She was approximately 3 months.
How much did you pay for her?
I paid $3,200 for her.
And did you have AKC papers for her?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, according to your complaint, when the defendant moved in, she moved in March, she moved in with her 9-year-old daughter. The 9-year-old daughter saw this dog, Dolce, became attached to the dog,
yes,
fell in love with the dog, and the defendant agreed to purchase the dog.
Yes, ma'am.
And you acknowledge that you agreed to purchase the dog.
Yes.
In March of 2022, how much did you agree to pay Mr. Parker for the dog?
When I rented the apartment, he's told me $2,500.
No,
He told you
that's
20.
not true.
Now,
He said $3,500.
Miss.
Frankie Parker claims his tenant, Miranda Miles, owes for the cost of a French bulldog. Miranda is countersuing for harassment and invasion of privacy.
Miss Miles, I want you to think more clearly. Try to be clear. He had just paid $3,200 for the dog.
I didn't know that.
So, according to you, he agreed to sell you the dog for $2,500.
Yes. And then he changed it to $35 when I moved in.
Oh, so before you moved in, he said $25, but after you moved in, he said $35. Yes. Did you agree to pay him the $35?
Yes.
Okay, so now you have an agreed price of $3,500, which sounds more reasonable than $25 because he paid more for the dog.
Yeah, that's not entirely true. I told her $5,000 at first.
Okay.
But we'd do a co-ownership, which brought the price down to $3,500.
Okay. Right now, she agreed to pay you $3,500.
Yes.
She doesn't understand from co-ownership. You're talking about breeding down the road. Did you pay him any part of the $3,500?
No.
Okay, now let's go further. Are you still living in the unit behind him?
Yes.
So now that's March, April, May, June, July, August. Did you pay March's rent?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
May?
Yes.
June?
Yes.
July?
Yes.
And August?
Not yet.
Did she pay everything except August so far?
Yes, but I had to take her to court to almost evict her to get the money.
Okay. When did you start eviction proceedings? In what month?
I started eviction proceeding in June.
How much behind in rent was she?
She was just that month, but she had been late 2 prior times. So.
Okay. How late is late?
Well, I give you a grace period up to the 4th. Sometimes it's like the 10th.
Sometimes it was like the 10th.
Yes.
So we're not talking about months late.
No, she was never, she always paid.
When you took her to court to evict her for non-payment of rent, she came up with the money.
Yes.
Now, we're August 5th now. Did you pay your rent?
Not yet. Honestly, I'm struggling. I'm unemployed right now, and he knows my situation with my bank and my account right now, and he knows why. I have no funds at this moment.
Oh, but that's his business.
I get it.
See, that's his business. Do you work?
Not at the moment.
Why?
Because I got fired.
Why?
Because I didn't have transportation, and I was.
So you didn't go. Well, if you don't go to work or if you come late, then you get fired.
Right, and I also have health problems that I've been going through as well.
That is also, Miss Miles, not his problem.
I know.
Now, I'm going to go back to something that Mr. Parker said, because I think that it's sort of important for me to be able to resolve your counterclaim, because for sure, you owe him the price of the dog, which you still have, correct?
Yes.
Did he discuss with you a co-ownership of the dog, which would mean that you would share the litters if the dog was bred?
Yeah, he did. I wasn't very clear about it, but yes, he did, and I was willing to do that, so I was able to afford the dog.
That's going to help me resolve the issue. And you gave him no part of the $3,500.
No.
So, do you want to tell me what your defense is to this? Because your counterclaim is ridiculous. I don't even remember what it is. For harassment, slander, invasion of privacy.
He comes to my house, knocks on my door randomly all the time, every day.
Then move. Just a second. Then move.
He put cameras on all my neighbors.
Listen to me.
I don't have the money.
Listen to me. Move.
I don't have the money.
Well, that's, again, not his problem. He wants his rent on time, and he would like to be paid for his dog.
Right.
Okay, let's move on to something that's viable. Okay? Let's talk about this breeding of the dog, which I think would be absolutely ridiculous. Have you taken the dog to the vet?
Yes.
Dog's gotten its shots?
Absolutely.
Okay. And other than the fact that you say you're not working, there's no reason that you're not paying him for the dog, which you originally agreed to.
No.
$3,500, judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you very much.
But, Your Honor, she's supposed to get full breeding rights.
I'm not giving her full breeding rights to anything. She can't take care of herself or her 9-year-old. She has no money. How is she going to breed a dog?
We can't do the co-ownership.
No, well, you're not doing a co-ownership, sir. She just bought the dog for $3,500. Period.
That wasn't the agreement.
Just a second. You keep the papers. Do you understand?
Okay.
Do you keep the papers? She doesn't get the AKC papers.
Okay.
She keeps the dog, which means she's going to take care of the dog, get it spayed, do whatever she's supposed to do with the dog.
Okay.
You get $3,500, and don't make deals like this again. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
This court is adjourned.
I wanted either to have the full dog and no co-ownership, but I guess it didn't work out for me.
You know, I was trying to get the whole amount so we won't have to do a co-ownership anymore. She can either get the dog, the whole rights to it, or just pay me out.
I think he was trying to help me pay for it, and that's why he said the co-ownership, because I was unable to pay for the whole $5,500.
The whole rights to it, or just pay me out, you know.
I think that's what he was trying to do.
But I think overall the judgment was fair.
We live next door, so we have to.
I hope that we can actually do this together, and
we're good. Me and him are good.
I hope it does run smoothly and we don't have any more mishaps.
The case itself was easy, Sarah. Promised you buy the dog. Your daughter is in love with the dog. And he said, well, I can't pay for it. This time, the dog's attached, and he seems like a very, very nice man. But we had 2 little Maltese dogs once. I don't know if you remember them.
I remember the stories.
Do you remember the story? You were too young to remember the dogs. They were 2 little yappy Maltese dogs, and we thought it might be an interesting experience to breed them.
Oh, yeah. 2 New York City judges.
2 New York City judges decided that it was the worst experience. First of all, I remember after, and I think we had 2 or maybe 3 in the litter, and I couldn't leave them home. So I would take them in a box in my car to the courthouse and open the drawer and keep them in the drawer so that I could feed them, because this mother that wasn't a very good mother for the dogs, and she didn't want to be bothered feeding, so I had a bottle that they had to be fed every 2 hours.
Oh my goodness.
It's
a full-time job.
It was a full.
You get involved.
It was a full-time job. That's it. But it was our last time. You really have to know what you're doing. Otherwise, it's really not fair for the dogs. That's one of the reasons why she did not get the AKC papers, because she's having a hard enough time taking care of herself.
But now she has a pet that her 9-year-old and her can enjoy, and that's the end.
Kevin Free for Vet Bills.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2064, Singleton versus Free.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Singleton, your case is relatively simple. It is your claim that the defendant's unleashed dog bit your dog.
Yes, ma'am.
And you incurred vet bills, and you want Mr. Free to be responsible for them.
That's correct.
Mr. Free says that it's true that his dog did bite yours on the leg.
Yes, ma'am.
But that your dog was on his property and your dog was the aggressor. That's your position.
Correct.
Okay. And you were walking 2 dogs.
2 dogs and my nephew.
Nephew was a baby.
Yes, he was 3 years old, and my dog was 3, and the large dog that was bit, he was 12 at the time.
So you have a small rat terrier,
yes.
I think. And your larger dog is what kind of dog?
A Siberian Husky.
And what kind of dog do you have, sir?
I have a Italian Mastiff, Cane Corso.
That's a big dog.
At the time, he was about maybe 12 months old, so maybe a little bit over a year, so he's bigger now, but yeah.
How much did he weigh?
At that time, probably about 80 pounds.
Tell me about your property, sir. You have a photograph of your property?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Okay. Here's a couple of them here.
Miss Singleton, this incident happened when?
Christmas Day of last year, around 12:30, right before we had Christmas lunch.
Weather was okay?
Oh, it was great.
And how close do you live to Mr. Free?
I don't live anywhere near him. I actually live in Stone Mountain, but I was going to my parents' house for Christmas, so we were walking around the neighborhood. He lives almost directly behind my parents' house.
And I see that while there are driveways here, the front lawn extends all the way to the street. Is that right?
Yes.
And you were walking both your dogs, and were they leashed or unleashed?
They were leashed.
Both?
Yes, they were both leashed.
And Mr. Free, you sort of acknowledged that both of her dogs were on leashes.
I've only seen one dog. I didn't see two dogs, and I didn't see a child either. It was her and a dog. So
The dog that you saw, what kind of dog was that?
it looked like a husky, looked kind of like a wolf. So I'm not sure.
So just a second. So you saw a husky.
Correct.
Did you see the plaintiff?
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you one more time.
Okay.
Was the husky on a leash?
I guess yes. I guess.
The answer is either yes or no.
I'm not sure. I wasn't,
okay, well,
I
if
wasn't
you're
looking at
not
the
sure,
leash.
she says the husky was on a leash.
Yeah, so I'm not going to deny her dog was.
Okay. And your dog at the time was on your property unleashed.
My dog was on my property, period.
Your dog, pay careful attention. Your dog was on your property unleashed.
Correct.
At 12:30 on Christmas Day, what were you doing?
I was putting up a basketball goal I had just bought for my children for Christmas in the front yard with my dog next to me.
Okay. What I want you to do is this a picture of your house?
That's a picture of my house from the other side of the street, correct?
That's fine. This is a picture of
Yes.
your house.
Yes, it is.
The answer is yes. Kevin, what I'd like you to do is take this photograph to Mr. Free. I want him to take a Sharpie. Do we have a Sharpie? Something. Okay.
A pen.
You have a pen?
Yes, ma'am.
And tell him to make a circle where he was and an X where he saw for the first time Miss Singleton and her dog. X where you were. Just where you were. You personally.
Okay.
And put a circle the place where you saw Miss Singleton for the first time. Okay. So you were in the front yard.
Correct.
And that looks about 30 feet away from where you saw Miss Singleton for the first time.
If that.
From here to here.
I'll say about 20 feet. It's not as big as it looks on that picture. It's a pretty small yard.
I would say it's about 30 feet from where you put the X. It's all the way past the house. You're at the one side of the driveway. You have an entranceway to your house.
Correct.
And then you have, is this front a living room?
Yes, it is.
A living room, which is past that. And where you made a circle, which is a very large circle, is probably 10 feet away from the edge of the house.
Yes, that's where I know.
So I said it's about 30 feet away.
Okay.
And now I want you to put, can I have your pink Sharpie, please? Thank you very much. I want you to use this and put in this picture where your dog was at 12:30.
To get your understanding, you want
12:30. I want you to put a mark where your dog was immediately before you saw Miss Singleton and her
immediately
dog.
before. Thank you. You're not going to be able to see.
Okay, great. Great. So your dog, according to you, was right next to you, about 30 feet away from where Miss Singleton was when you saw her.
To be honest with
her
you,
dog.
he kind of moves around the yard. He doesn't sit still very much, so.
Well, you understand, Mr. Free, that even if your dog is on your property, you're supposed to maintain control of your dog all the time.
And which I
You
do.
understand that?
Yes, I do.
You understand that?
Yeah.
So if your dog is able to run 30 feet without being connected to you,
He didn't run.
just walk, cha-cha, tap dance, pirouetted, however he got there, your dog got 30 feet away from where you were.
Correct.
Your 80-pound dog.
Claims dog owner Kevin Free owes for vet bills from a dog fight.
Now, Miss Singleton was walking with her other dog and a 3-year-old. I want you to process that into your mind. And this is a 12-month-old, which is still a puppy. still a puppy, but at 80 pounds.
Your Honor, there was no 3-year-old. I didn't see a 3-year-old.
Just a second.
Okay.
I don't care what you saw while you were busy putting together something for Christmas in your front yard. If you didn't see it, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. If you didn't see it, it just means you didn't see it. She tells me she sees it. She remembers walking her 2 dogs. You only remember 1. She has 2 that she was walking at 12:30 Christmas Day. The fact that you only saw 1 means you weren't paying attention to where your dog was.
Or they wasn't there.
Well, that's pretty stupid, Mr. Free.
I mean, it doesn't make sense to carry 2 dogs and an infant down a neighborhood you don't even belong in. I mean, you don't know from.
Mr. Free, they're only going to take 1 voice.
I understand. Yeah.
They're only going to take 1 voice, and that's mine. Let me tell you why your argument is stupid. Because it doesn't make any difference whether she was walking 2 dogs or 4 dogs or 8 dogs. It doesn't make any difference whether she was walking with or without a 3-year-old. Ultimately, her case comes down to she was walking her leashed dog. I haven't figured out whose fault it is yet. She was walking her leashed dog, and your dog ran, walked, pirouetted, cha-cha, whatever it did, to her dog out of your control. Was not under your control because it was not leashed. Do you understand?
I understand.
Now, I can take away everything else. Not that I'm going to, because I believe that you were distracted. You didn't see it. And I believed her that she was walking with her 3-year-old nephew.
Yes, ma'am.
Nephew and another dog that you didn't see. But that's not the issue in this case, whether she was with another dog, another child, or with anybody else. The issue is, whose fault is it that a dog was out of control? So, now you're going to tell me what happened at 12:30 on Christmas Day, just so that Mr. Free doesn't think that I'm picking on him.
Okay.
Which I'm not.
Okay, I know.
You may think I am, but I'm not picking on him. You're walking with your husky.
Yes, ma'am.
On a leash.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened?
I was walking with my nephew, 3 years old.
No, don't just listen to me.
Okay.
Listen to me carefully.
Okay, just walk down the street.
I said you're walking. I got it in my mind.
Okay.
But so Mr. Free doesn't think that I'm being unfair to him, because he doesn't remember what he saw. You're walking your husky.
Okay, only him.
On the street. So your nephew didn't get hurt. Your rat terrier didn't get hurt.
That's correct.
Okay, so now you're walking your husky on the street. And?
Okay, and then all of a sudden we see a dog charging towards us. And
who's we?
Oh, I called me, my nephew, and my dog's we.
No, now it's just I saw.
I saw a dog charging towards us. That dog and Leon got into an altercation, and then Leon turned around to try and kick the dog in the face, and he grabbed his foot and he let go.
Okay,
but then,
let's go much slower.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
You saw a dog charging towards you.
Yes, ma'am.
And
that dog got into an altercation with my
your dog.
Yeah.
Tell me about that initial altercation.
At first, they were biting each other's muzzles.
Okay, so they were both biting each other's muzzles.
Yes.
Okay.
My dog turned around to try and, I guess,
No, don't tell me what he was trying to do. Your dog turned around.
He kicked the dog in the face.
Your dog kicked his dog in the face?
Yes. He grabbed his leg, punctured it, let it go. Leon kicked him again. This time he grabbed his other leg.
Okay, so your dog kicked that dog again?
Twice, yes.
His dog again?
Yes, ma'am.
And?
That dog that time grabbed his leg, had a good hold, and shook it immediately. And then that's when I knew his leg was broken.
No, don't show me pictures.
Okay.
First I have to find whose fault it is before I look at pictures and vet bills.
Okay.
Okay, now, when you saw his dog charging towards you, and your dog's name is Leon?
Yes, ma'am.
On a leash?
Yes, ma'am.
On a leash. But it's a big dog.
Yes, ma'am.
How much does it weigh?
Leon, 75 pounds.
So about the same as the defendant's dog?
Yes.
And it's a senior dog?
Yes, that is correct.
Has your dog ever had a history with another dog? I'm going to say it again. Has your dog ever had a history of an altercation with another dog?
No, ma'am.
Has your dog ever had a history of an altercation with another person?
No, ma'am.
And I assume if I asked you those questions, you would give me what answer, sir?
I would say no.
You would say no because?
Because my dog has never had any problems with any dogs.
With any dog?
Any dogs, person.
Any other person?
Correct.
So you would acknowledge, Miss Singleton, that I'm going to show you this photograph of Mr. Free's house. And what I'd like you to do is show me where, according to you, Let's get her a different color pen. Do we have a different, well, we have, that's
This is blue.
Okay. I'd like you to make a P, to just put a P where the dogs first made contact.
Okay. Okay. It's not on this photo.
Is it on this photo? Do you have a photo?
I do have a photo.
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
Would you please make
This is his home, and this is where it happened, right underneath the tree.
Put a P there.
Okay.
Oh, so what you're saying is, where you put the P, that the dog was in the street.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Were you in the street?
I sure was.
I would like you to put a D in this picture where you say, did you see Mr. Free?
I did not until he came and retrieved his animal.
Did you see where he came from?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Did you see anything being assembled in the yard?
Once we were leaving, yes.
And what did you see?
A basketball goal.
A basketball goal?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that what you were putting together, Mr. Free?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you show me where that was, please?
Okay.
It was here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, Mr. Free, you're putting something together. The first thing you hear is a kerfuffle, some sort of a...
No.
What do you hear?
Claims dog owner Kevin Free is responsible for injuries after his dog attacked her dog.
No. I actually I saw my dog run across the yard. So.
And? You saw the dog running across the yard.
Well, normally I really don't have a problem with him.
Let me explain something to you.
Yeah. Okay.
My job that I'm really good at is telling when people are peeing on my leg and trying to tell me it's raining.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Now, I could tell immediately from your body language that you were beginning to tell me a whole bunch of who shot John. So I suggest to you, Mr. Free, that if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. Now, I want to explain to you why that's so important. Did you hear Miss Singleton? Miss Singleton actually said that her dog nipped yours in the face.
Correct.
She said that.
Correct.
She didn't have to tell me that. She said her dog not only nipped your dog in the face because they were fighting muzzle to muzzle, but afterwards kicked your dog twice. Do you understand? That's what she said.
I heard that, yeah.
That's what she said about that. That's sort of, that's sort of surprising. That would seem to someone.
It surprises me that dogs can get up on their front legs and kick too. So I don't know what she's saying to you, but I don't know. I didn't see any kicking.
Listen to
the fight lasted like 3 seconds. It wasn't. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Do you understand when you're not telling the truth, Mr. Free?
Well, I think what you read from me is me responding to a whole bunch of stuff that was said that didn't.
No, what me responding to you is your body English. That's me responding to you because you were putting together this thing, but you said it was here.
Correct. It was in the driveway. It's pretty big.
Well, this isn't a driveway, sir. That's grass. That's what you marked where you were. And you marked where your dog was in the grass.
Asked me where I was.
Just a second.
Not the basketball goal.
No, I asked you where you were.
Yeah,
and you said here. And then you said to me, please read it back. Where were you? And you said, I believe he said he was in the driveway.
Correct. It was in the driveway.
I apologize. Excuse me.
Just a second. Driveway.
Okay.
Do you understand?
I do.
Eventually, it noodles its way out, sir. The same way it noodles its way out to, my memory is correct, in your answer you wrote down, you saw them for the first time in the street.
On the, what we call a curb. It's a small slope that comes up from down. Not all the way in the street, no.
No. Here, you see what happens, Mr. Free?
Yeah.
What you just said to me belies credulity.
Well, I'm trying to be as
just a
precise
second,
as I
but
can.
not because, you know, I've lived on this planet almost 80 years.
Congrats.
And if I have a choice between walking in the street and walking in that little dip that's designed to take rainwater away, I don't walk in that thing because I'll get killed. I'll break my legs. And you certainly don't walk in this little thing if you're walking two dogs and a child. You don't walk in that little drain that's carved out here to take rainwater away. You walk either on the grass, on everybody's grass,
Correct.
or you walk in the street.
Makes sense.
And you, sir, would have me believe that the plaintiff walked all the way around the block, walking on people's grass. Other than that, she would have to be in the street and decide, well,
Sometimes
I
it's
think I'm going to go up
unavoidable,
on
but
the
no.
grass in this
But no,
guy's
I wouldn't
house.
say that.
What?
Sometimes it's unavoidable, so I'm not saying that at all.
Sir, I have to tell you something.
Yeah.
You're going to pay her vet bills. Your dog was out of your control and was in the street, not on your grass. In the street. You had no control over your dog, an 80-pound puppy. Now, the dog could have, just playfully, knocked over the 3-year-old and hurt the 3-year-old. Could have, didn't. Got into a scuffle with a dog approximately the same size. Her dog was leashed, within her control. Your dog, you had to run from where you were putting this together and come and get your dog.
Your Honor,
That's what you said.
A dog under control doesn't manage to do 2 jump kicks and a bite.
No, just a second, sir. You can do that if you're on a leash. Her dog never left her hand.
Your Honor, the injuries was to the hind feet of the dog.
This isn't, Mr. Free, this is,
Okay.
Maybe your wife lets you get away with that, sir. I don't. This is not a tap dance. This is not a recital or a rehearsal. You made a picture of where you said this happened.
Yeah.
I don't believe you. That's what it's about. I believe that this occurred on a public street, and on the public street, you had no control of your dog. You decided to let your dog stay outside. You haven't had any trouble with your dog before, so you wouldn't have anticipated that your dog would run out into the street, because if your dog ran out into the street and a car hit it and killed it, whose fault would that be?
That would definitely be mine.
That would definitely be yours, right? Do you think that you might sue the person who hit your dog? You might try. You might try. You might say, oh, my God, they should have been going slower. Oh, my God. Do you understand? You're the owner. Dogs are animals. They're not as smart as you are. But when your dog charged out into the street, it could just as easily have gotten hit by a car. That would have been your fault. But under those circumstances, you would have said it's the car's fault. Your dog was out in a public street outside of your control, and it's a big dog, and you should be more careful. If you want to keep your dog outside while you're putting something together and keep the dog on your property, put down a stake, put the dog on a lead, and let the dog stay outside with you. But if you let a 12-month-old, 80-pound dog run loose and it runs into the street, you, sir, are responsible for the consequences. What was your vet bill?
It was $1,832.64.
Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I don't think that I was 100% responsible.
I'm glad it was swift and easy, honestly.
From my perspective, it lasted for about 3 seconds.
I was trying to fight with this man for a while. I'm glad it's over.
Might have happened in that 3 seconds, but it was too fast for my eyes.
Honestly, it was kind of traumatizing, especially since I had a 3-year-old with me, and I had to quickly think and just pick him up before the dog got him.
I think they just fought and my dog won.
Bring the Judy justice, baby.
I watched the show. I know how she gets down, you know?
So, as you know, we have 2 large, pretty docile golden retrievers at home that are now 8 and 12 years old. But even when we have family that comes over, or friends with little children that are curious, that like to come up and pull on the ears a little or play with them, you have to be careful. They're 80 and 90-pound dogs. We've never once had a problem with either of them. But you just never know. You can't control a dog that's 90 pounds, but they're just big. They could knock them over by accident with their tail, just so excited.
Yeah. So you have to be careful. You have a responsibility when you have a big dog.
Edmund Hay is suing videographer Ramsey Hill for breach of contract.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2057, Hay versus Hill.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Hay, you're a musician.
I am a songwriter and I sing song. I don't play the instrument, Your Honor.
That's music.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hill, you make music videos.
Yes, I have a video production company.
For how long, sir?
Since 2006.
Do you have employees?
No.
Just you?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a place of business?
Yes, I work at my home.
So your place of business
is the residence.
Do you have a studio in the residence?
No, we do not.
Where do you record this music?
Most of the time we do it on location, but I haven't done a music video in almost 10 years.
When you say you have a video business, you haven't done music videos.
Right, yeah.
You have done what kind of videos?
Well, we've done a small film. We have a 3D full-length original animation that we do. We also have a network that we show podcasts on. We have a health and fitness show, and we was working on a reality TV show and an entertainment news show.
I still don't understand how you make a living. working on, thinking about being in this business myself that doesn't produce any income. How do you earn a regular income?
Oh, I have a regular 9-to-5 job. Besides
okay, now that's where we go.
Yeah.
So your 9-to-5 job is what?
Right now I'm an insurance agent.
Do you advertise making videos?
Absolutely not. The only reason I did this was as a favor to a friend.
Well, you didn't do it for a favor because you were charging him.
No, the only reason I accepted to do the video was because a friend asked me to meet with him.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But you weren't doing him a favor because you were charging him.
No, I was doing the friend a favor. I wasn't doing him a favor.
No.
Right.
Mr. Hill, if somebody says, listen, I have a friend who wants to make a video. I know you've got a setup in your house where you could do that, or you do it on location. Would you like to be introduced to him? And you say, sure. That doesn't mean you're doing him a favor. So you haven't made a music video in 10 years. You're an insurance agent. And you met with Mr. Hay on what date?
I'm not really sure.
On what date, Mr. Hay?
We met sometime in early April, late March.
Did you have a written contract?
Yes, ma'am.
And that was to make certain videos?
Yes.
I'd like to see the written contract, please. This lawsuit seeks a refund of the money that you gave to him because the entire contract was not fulfilled. That's what the case is about.
That is correct.
Okay, so there is a full and complete agreement. Was this the only agreement there was in writing?
That's the one for that one.
That's the one for what?
For that particular item. There's another one here.
Well, that's what I wanted to know. There's one to produce 3 videos.
That is correct.
Okay. Is there another written contract?
He said this is not a contract.
Well, but I'm asking you, is there another written contract that you're relying on? Because he was supposed to make 3 videos, and the cost of the 3 videos was $1,500?
$3,000.
$3,000. And then there was an additional agreement
for the live performance, of which he demanded $1,500 from me.
Okay.
Okay,
And then
that's
just a second.
That's not correct.
Just a second. So it is your claim that in addition to the $3,000, $1,500 of which you paid to him, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
There was a subsequent contract afterwards for an additional item. I'd like to see that.
For the live performance on May 1st.
Okay. You wanted to do something live on one of his radio stations. Or...
Mr. Hill?
No, I'm going to read this.
Okay.
Okay. Let's deal with the easier one first. Did you receive the $1,500 for this contract?
Yes.
And that was for a live performance on one of your outlets?
Right.
And that was to take place on May 1st?
May 1st.
And did it, in fact, take place?
No.
Did it, in fact, take place?
Not at all.
Well, so then he gets his $1,500 back. That's one.
Thank you, Your Honor.
But I'm not asking you anything. There's nothing else that you have to tell me about that, right? Yes. You paid him $1,500.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't do a live performance. You get your $1,500 back.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, with regard to the 3 videos, you've given him a total now of $3,000?
$1,500, Your Honor.
How much did you pay him on this?
For the videos?
Yes.
I gave him $500 up front to start off on that project. And then that's on the 21st. And then I gave him $1,000 by the 27th, I think, for the 3 videos.
So you gave him the 3 videos were supposed to be $3,000, and you gave him $1,500.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How many videos were produced for you?
1.
Is it accurate that 1 video was produced for Mr. Hay?
Yes.
And it was done on a particular date?
Right.
And you gave him that video?
Yes.
On what date did you give him that video?
It was a week before the 31st.
Did you do any work on the other 2 videos?
No.
Okay. Each video was supposed to cost $1,000.
Yes.
Dollars. And you received 1 video.
Yes, ma'am.
And you paid him $1,500 so far as down payment on 3. So you have $1,500 that you believe is coming back to you from that amount of money, in addition to the $1,500 that I've already given you.
No, the $1,500 covered the first video. It wasn't a breakdown like he's trying to make it in the 3 videos. No, the $1,500 was the cost, was the full cost for the first video.
Does it say that in here?
Edmund Hay claims videographer Ramsey Hill breached their music video contract.
Kevin, would you please ask Mr. Hill to show me where in this contract, and I may have missed it, that $3,000 was to be paid for 3 videos.
Right.
But the first one cost half, cost $1,500. All I want you to do is to show me in that contract where it says that. If it says that, then Mr. Hay gets back the $1,500 from live music performance.
The music video production won $1,500.
Just a second. Can I see it, please? Yes, it does, Mr. Hay. Yes, that's exactly what it says. Okay. It says music video, the first production is $1,500. Okay. And you got one produced video, correct?
Correct, ma'am.
Okay. Well,
so.
And you're absolutely right. What?
So the reason why I'm suing him for the extra $1,000, Your Honor, is for the live performance that he didn't perform. I had to hire 2 other persons.
That's not his problem. He didn't perform. He didn't do the live performance.
No, first of all,
and you're getting your money back. He's not giving you more money back.
No.
He's not giving you more money than you gave him. Do you understand? He's giving.
Your Honor, may I say this, please?
You could say whatever you want to say. He's not paying for you to do another live performance with other people. He didn't perform pursuant to the contract, and you're getting your money back because he didn't perform that contract. With regard to this contract, he performed pursuant to this contract. You get nothing. It's easy.
For the music, correct? For the videos, correct?
For the videos. He produced one, and one was $1,500. That's what this contract says.
The contract is about making 3 videos, Your Honor.
That's all right. If you want to look at it, do you want to see it? Have we shown it to you?
No, I'm asking pertaining to what he says. He says pertaining to just one for the $1,500.
It says it's clear. Music video, #1 production, $1,500.
#1, which means there's 2 more need to be done.
Correct, but the first one was, just a second, the first one was $1,500. He could have very easily said, Mr. Hay, production #1, $1,000. Production #2.
He explained that like you just said to me, and he wrote that in words for that purpose.
This is what the court is bound by, sir. Not what he may have explained to you, because you cannot modify in the law a written contract by oral communications between the parties. It's in writing. If you wanted him to write production 1, $1,000, then you would have said, write production 1, that each video was $1,000.
Your Honor,
This is not an argument, sir.
I'm not
this
arguing,
is not an argument. Good, because that's what it says.
I'm not arguing.
Contract speaks for itself. On the initial contract, he has to give you a refund of $1,500. On this contract, he produced #1 video for which you paid him $1,500. That's what the contract calls for. We're done here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Well, it's a fair decision.
There is no breaching of my end on the contract.
It would never have been any money if he'd have kept things on course.
How did I breach the contract when I'm here getting the money for the contract?
I'm not working with anybody like that anymore.
You cannot have an oral modification of a written contract. So I think it's a good lesson for people signing written contracts that if you don't agree or you have a different understanding than something that's listed in the contract, don't let the other person just explain it away in the moment, because as we've seen, that doesn't hold up in court and your rights are going to be really limited to what's in that written agreement. So it's important.
People should.
Suing motorist Rachel Velasquez for property damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case 2098, Shepard versus Velasquez.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Ms. Velasquez, I'm going to start with you because the case is unusual and the case really starts with you. You were driving your car.
Correct.
And had an accident on the 13th of February of this year.
Right.
Tell me about it.
I was going west on...
You were driving?
I was driving.
First, at what time did this take place on
It happened at about 1 a.m.
Where were you coming from?
From my sister's home.
Anybody else in the car with you?
No.
What day of the week was February 13th?
That was on a Saturday.
So you were at some sort of a gathering at your sister's house?
I was at my sister's house, yes.
How many people were at the gathering?
There was just about maybe 10 of us.
And what time had you arrived at your sister's house?
Saturday, mid-morning.
Did you have dinner there?
Yes.
Any alcohol served all day?
Yes.
What kind?
Just a beer.
I wasn't there.
A beer?
My
beer.
invitation got lost in the mail. What were you drinking?
I drank 2 beers, but that, again, mind you, it was at the afternoon.
Just a second.
Yes.
So you had 2 beers?
Yes.
Now you get into the car, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and you're on your way home, and see what happened.
Okay.
Traveling from your sister's house, maybe I'll make this easier for you. How far a distance is it from your sister's house to your house?
About 20 minutes.
And how far into the trip did this accident occur?
Like 15 minutes.
And tell me about the accident.
Okay, so I seen like a dog or something in the street. So as soon as I seen it.
Just a second. So it's 1 o'clock in the morning, you see something in the street. That's what you said.
Okay, well, it was something, but it turned out to be a dog.
So what did you do?
I swerved to not hit the dog.
You swerved to not hit the something.
But it was a dog.
Well, we're going to get to how you know that. So you swerved to avoid hitting the something, and you went into a house, went over a fire hydrant.
The fire hydrant, actually, when I hit the fire hydrant has pushed me into the house.
Fire hydrant, water, and you went into the house. The force of the fire hydrant didn't send you into the house, madam, unless you're telling me that the fire hydrant went and the water was such force that it pushed your car into the house, which I won't believe. Do you understand? So you swerved to avoid something in the road and were clearly going at such a speed that you went right into a house. Did you go through the wall of the house? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
And that's what this case is about. Because Miss Shepard is a renter in that house. And she says that everything of value that she had was destroyed because of the water and inundation. And your automobile insurance company paid the owner of the house for the damage to the house, but did not compensate Miss Shepard for any of her property that was destroyed. That's what the case is about. So now this dog becomes sort of interesting. You have a dog?
I do.
Now, you say that you swerved to avoid something that you subsequently said was a dog. Now you're in the house because that's where the car is. I assume that they had to get you out of the car. Or did you get out of the car on your own?
Yeah, my car was not in the house, but I was out of the car. I got out by myself.
Do you have photographs of the house?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at them. Oh, that's pretty much in the house.
Yeah, she went through 2 walls.
Yeah. Do you know how much money your insurance company paid out to the homeowner?
$5,000.
$5,000. Is this your car?
Yes.
And this is where it landed?
Yes.
Okay, now, you got out of the car, and what did you do?
I got out of the car. My sister, she was there too.
What do you mean your sister was there too?
She was following right behind me. Because she's the one who she had seen the dog that I swerved to hit. She's seen the dog as well.
I'm talking to you. You got out of the car and?
I went to go walk to get my sister.
And?
And we waited for the ambulance to get there.
For whom?
For me.
What was wrong with you?
I had 3 broken ribs.
Where did you wait for the ambulance?
Right in front of the house.
Now tell me about the dog.
The dog, when the car came to a stop, I seen the dog run back into the yard.
Yeah. So you're crashing into the front of the house. Your eyes are in front of you. You're crashing into a house. You take down the whole wall when you crashed into the house. And what you're telling me is you crashed into the house, and out of what kind of vision? You went through a wall. How did your eyes get to the backyard? You swerve. You go into, either you swerve because there's something in the road, or you swerve because you weren't paying attention, or you swerve because the beers that you had were too late in the day, whatever the reason that you swerved. But now you're facing the inside of a house. I want to know at what point you saw a dog run to the backyard.
Well, the car wasn't, I didn't hit head on. It was on the side. It was on the left side, the right side. It was on the right side. So when I hit it, everything went to the right side. I didn't hit it straight on, head forward.
This is your car.
But I did not hit it straight
This is
head
your
on.
car. So you're telling me your car was damaged before?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I'd like you to tell me, Miss Shepard, I'm sure you have a list of things that were destroyed. You did not have renter's insurance.
I did not.
And what happened when you submitted a claim to Miss Velasquez's insurance company?
Absolutely nothing. They never even got back to me on it.
Okay, I'd like to see proof that your insurance company paid the owner of the house.
I don't have that on me.
You have your insurance card here?
Yes.
Good, I'd like to see it. Did you make a claim?
I did. I did the day on February 14th.
Who owns this car?
I do.
What kind of car were you driving?
It's a 2017 Honda Accord.
Did they pay to have your car fixed?
No.
Did they cover it at all? You had a $500 deductible for collision. Did they pay for your car?
No.
You have medical records?
No, I didn't bring them.
Did the police respond to the location?
Yes.
Were you given a blood alcohol test or a breathalyzer test at the scene?
No.
Do you have a police report?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. Okay, arrived at the scene at 2:30 in the morning. This was determined to be a solo vehicle crash with minor injuries involving an impaired driver. That impaired driver would be you, because she wasn't driving her house. Now, Ms. Velasquez, not good form when the police reports. Do you see the police report? Have you seen the police report?
Yes.
Okay, so you know the police report found that you were impaired at the time of the accident. It also indicates that the police officer immediately after the accident questioned you on a gurney in the hospital. And that was immediately after this happened. I'm going to read what it says. Party 1, Velasquez, is riding her Honda at 55 miles per hour while under the influence. It says at the time of your statement, Party 1, that's you, states she attempted to turn left because she was heading to her mother's house, but did not recall how she crashed. Certainly don't see anything about a dog here, only an impaired driver. Okay, and then later you told this police officer that you admitted drinking 3 beers early at her home. Police officer said he asked you whether you felt the effects of alcohol drinks, to which you replied yes. The officer conducted a limited number of field sobriety tests at the hospital, which Party 1 failed to perform. Party 1's objective signs and symptoms of intoxication, and you were placed under arrest.
No, ma'am.
Yeah, I placed Party 1, that's you, under arrest for DUI.
Owes for property and water damage after Rachel's car ran over a fire hydrant and crashed into Whitney's home.
Something just came through my house. My house exploded. I'm stuck in here. I don't know what's going on. There is a car in my house. Oh my God. They hit the fire hydrant. They went through my house. I no longer have a house.
Okay. Did you receive a citation?
No, I did not.
You didn't?
No, ma'am.
Really?
No.
Well, then you want me to assume that when the police officer said that he placed you under arrest, and I can understand why they didn't remove you from the hospital, that you were subsequently given a citation, but you had to receive some sort of citation from the police, madam, unless you have medical records which indicate that the blood that they drew indicated that there was no alcohol in your system, because this police officer determined that you were drunk. And this police report has absolutely nothing about a dog causing the accident. It has you saying, I don't know what caused the accident. Yes. Okay. Ms. Shepard.
Yes.
The defendant is responsible for the damages done to your property. And so I've seen the extent of this damage done to the house. Were you able to stay in the house subsequent to this crash?
No.
Where did you go?
I got relocated to Corona. I'm renting a room in Corona.
And had you been renting the whole house?
Yes. Yes.
For how long?
10 years.
And what was your rent on the house?
$7.15 a month.
And in the 10 years that you lived there, you accumulated all your stuff?
Well, that and time before I lived there, but yes.
But for 10 years?
For 10 years,
Were you
yes.
able to take any of your furniture?
I got 3 pieces of furniture, which included my mattress.
That was okay?
It was okay.
Okay.
And I got an armoire that is ruined at the bottom from the water and a dresser that was ruined from the water.
The rest of the furniture in the house, did it belong to you?
It did.
Okay. So you had a table, chairs, eating?
Table and chairs, no couch. It was a small house, 457 square feet.
What about your clothes?
I have not seen my clothes since the day the accident happened.
Did the water infiltrate the house as a result of the fire hydrant?
Yes. I was trapped in that house for 4.5 hours. Me and my dog were trapped in the house for 4.5 hours. My dog was in bed with me, sleeping.
When you left to rent this room, did you take anything with you?
Well, the night the accident happened, when I was trapped for 4.5 hours, I was hiding because the fire hydrant was throwing big rocks onto the roof, and I thought the whole house was coming down. But I kept coming out and filling a backpack with things my grandchildren had given me and pictures of my grandchildren. I didn't even think to take clothes or anything out.
And you went right there to some place where you were relocated? Did you
Yeah,
go to
I was
a relative's?
relocated immediately. It was red tagged, and it took 68 days to get a yellow tag so I could hire a company.
Do you know how much the landlord got for the damage on this house?
She had insurance, and she's rebuilding right now.
So she had her own insurance?
She had her own insurance, yeah.
Okay. Ms. Velasquez, there's no question in my mind that your mind is fresher at the time of the incident than it is months and months later, when you've had a chance to reflect on why an accident is not your fault. You were questioned by police officers immediately after the incident. You responded, actually, to the police officers and told them what happened and told them that you crashed and you didn't know why. The police officers observed your demeanor. They determined that you were operating a vehicle under the influence of alcohol. I don't know whether you have insurance or not. I don't know whether you had insurance on the date of the incident or not. But by your careless and reckless behavior, you've turned this lady's life upside down. She had a little life in a little house where she had all of her property, and you've turned her life totally upside down. She has nothing. And you're responsible for that. So if you had no insurance or if the insurance disclaimed, that would be your problem. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $10,000. We're finished.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I think it was the correct decision, as it really could be the only decision.
I remember seeing the dog run through, but yeah, it was an accident.
I thought my house exploded, and I was in a house that was going to come down with my dog.
Luckily, I didn't hurt anybody.
I think anybody who would drink and drive isn't willing to take responsibility for their actions.
You know, sometimes you're the windshield and sometimes you're a bug. Sometimes you're both.
As in this case.
That's really a trick. I have no idea what that insurance is.
A lot of fine print, I'm feeling, was probably the issue.
Yeah, but I cannot imagine if it was legitimate insurance, and she had legitimate insurance, except that she's got a $10,000 maximum on any sort of collision. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what it is. I actually feel sorry for that lady, don't you?
Me too. Everything in 500 square feet in a home that she's built.
And she's comfortable. She was comfortable in that.
No, exactly.
She has nothing. And I didn't see a whole bunch of remorse there.
Nope, me neither.
Case number 2033, Broussard Farrell versus Stigley. All parties, please step forward.
Tammy Broussard and Catherine Fierro are suing 21-year-old Alicia Stigney for travel vouchers and harassment.
Whose son was it who was living with the defendant?
My son.
Broad strokes, what I get from this. Is that your son?
Yes, ma'am.
Your son became involved, according to you, with the defendant. She has one child with your son and one child with someone else.
Yes, ma'am.
What I gather, there was a time that everybody was happy living together, and I believe it was your brother who was getting married in Las Vegas.
Yes, ma'am.
And the defendant at that time was put in charge of ordering the plane tickets for everyone to go. But the defendant was told to use someone else's credit card. And who was that?
That's Catherine Fierro's.
That was Miss Fierro.
Yes.
Miss Fierro is whom?
I am the fiancée to her brother.
In any event, the wedding did not come off as planned in Las Vegas. Parties did not use the flight tickets that you had booked with someone else's credit card.
Correct.
And you were given travel vouchers, and that's what they're suing for. They want their travel vouchers. That's it. So I just have a few questions. It's not a very difficult case. When you booked the flights for everyone, how many tickets did you book?
It was myself, my 4-year-old. The infant was a lap, so she would not count.
And your boyfriend?
At the time, yes. Roman.
Yes.
And then it was also Tammy Broussard, her daughter, and that was all.
Whose credit card did you pay for those tickets with?
It was Kat's.
That's you?
Yes.
And did you pay for those tickets?
They were put on my credit card. Yes, they were, Your Honor.
Did you, in fact, pay for them, is my question.
Yes.
I'd like to see proof that you paid for their flights. And if you have the following month's bill as well, did you ever receive a credit for those flights?
No, I did not. I
On
wasn't
your
aware
credit-
what happened until I asked the son, the airline, to send me this.
I'd like to see it.
There you go.
Because it's still on your credit card.
Yes.
Okay, so you received vouchers, according to this, that totaled little over $1,000.
Yes.
What did you do with them?
I did use them.
Just a second. You didn't pay for the tickets.
Correct.
So my question is, why didn't you turn the vouchers over to the people who actually paid for the tickets?
Fierro claimed 21-year-old Alicia Stigney owes for travel vouchers and harassment.
Now, did you discuss the vouchers with her?
I did not meet her until, I believe, early February when we left Las Vegas to go to Minnesota. And shortly after meeting her the day that we got there, she called my fiance, asked if we could watch the baby.
No.
But we did have a discussion about it, a slight one.
Only a discussion with you. I don't want to hear about any conversation.
Well, I did bring it up.
Well, I'd like you to tell me what the discussion was.
When we came to watch her baby for the first time, she went to show me the baby's room where the diapers were, where the wipes are, and she was running around looking for wipes, and I said, I don't want to seem rude, but you do have the vouchers, correct, for the wedding. They were specifically meant for my wedding. And she said she didn't really have time to talk about it, that she was going out for the weekend to Rochester to go out and have fun with her. So she just left very quickly. Then we watched the baby a second time, and I decided to leave a little bit early to get to the house to watch the baby. And when we arrived, she was out the door. So she did not want to talk about
that's sort of speculation.
Yes.
I don't understand what the issue is. She paid for the tickets. You did not, but you used the vouchers.
I did.
Well, then she's entitled to be compensated for what she paid.
Your Honor, she also posted on Facebook trying to sell the tickets.
Well, I mean, I don't know. This is not rocket science. Am I missing something here? You booked the tickets but didn't pay for them. The wedding got canceled because of COVID. You got vouchers for what she paid for and you used them without any agreement. What is the issue here? Am I missing something?
I don't think so.
Would you tell me?
Yes. So back last year, I have the agreement. It was sometime, I think June or July. Tammy moved to Minnesota or to Austin.
Don't go off on a tangent. Listen to me.
Her apartment is in my name because she couldn't put it in her name.
Okay. And?
So they said, because later in February, Kat had now moved into Tammy's apartment with Tammy that is in my name.
Okay.
So they, as a thank you, they had said that they did not want the vouchers back, that I could use them. They also said that they would not able to use them before they expired in October of this year.
That's not true, Your Honor.
What do you mean they said? Those are two people.
Yes, Tammy and Kat. I had ran into Kat at Walmart sometime late March, I think it was, after me and the Romaine had broke up.
Whatever his name is, Romaine and I broke up.
Yes.
I'm still trying to figure out why you didn't give her the vouchers when you got them.
We were still together, me and Romaine. We were planning on taking a trip this year.
What difference does it make? Were you supposed to pay for the tickets to Vegas?
No.
Was that your agreement, that somebody else was going to pay for them?
They agreed that they'd pay for them, yes.
Is that right?
To come to the wedding, not to go anywhere else, just
to come to the wedding, but the wedding was canceled.
Yes. Correct. And we did not speak at Walmart about anything about those.
What I have here are two charges, one for $320 and one for $538. Is that what you spent on the tickets?
Yes.
And ma'am, I have something from June 18th on Facebook where she was trying to sell them on Facebook, and I had... I
actually, Miss Broussard, don't understand why you're here.
I'm here because there's also a harassment. We have a police report regarding that.
Okay.
As well.
Okay, so with regard to your claim, she owes you $858 for the tickets.
Yes.
So that judgment is taken care of. You can have a seat.
Thank you.
The other part of the claim is for harassment. Do you want to tell me when this harassment started? I assume it was after your son and the defendant terminated their relationship. And if you indicated that you had a police report, I'd like to look at it.
Yes, ma'am. Here is the police report. And actually, the harassment had started.
Just 1 second. As far as this police report you gave me, the only thing that's complained about here, really from your end, initially, was the fact that your son's tax money was put in her bank account by mistake.
It was something entirely different because he doesn't have the evidence that he needs with that.
I don't care. I'm just telling you what the document is that you handed me as evidence of harassment. And the document that you handed me as evidence of harassment, the focal point of it is last week his tax return got deposited. Alicia withdrew all the money from the account, and this included $1,500 from the tax return and $1,000 that was in the account. That was the crux of your complaint against her. Well, that's not harassment.
Well, the harassment had started on April 27th, which is like a month after those two had broken up. It was a really nasty thing. I don't know, like it says in there, I don't know if it's coincidental, but she sped through a red or a yellow light, almost hit me once. Her boyfriend had been a total nuisance in my parking lot, blowing the horn.
Listen to me very carefully. If you feel as if you are the subject of harassment, file for a protective order. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. The defendant owes your co-plaintiff $858. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I was very nice to them, and they just disregarded all of that.
She's very upset because my son no longer dates her.
There was drugs involved where she couldn't get the credit apartment of her own.
I pay my own rent, I pay my own bills. I just have bad credit, and it's not even a drug-related thing.
I was nice and put their apartment in my name, and that didn't matter to them.
She's a thief. I mean, those tickets were meant for my wedding, and she used them for something else. It doesn't matter if you're nice or not. You give it back.
I wish they were all that simple.
Yeah, I mean, from reading the papers, I could tell there was some more conflict than I think we got into. But none of that underlying conflict between any of the parties had anything to do with the facts of the case. That she used someone else's credit card, she received a benefit that she did not pay for, and they were entitled.
Carrie Cargill is suing Joseph Simonet for car damage after Joseph's 15-year-old son hit Carrie's vehicle.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Good morning.
Case 2138, Cargill versus Simonet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Cargill, you and the defendant's son had an accident while you were driving your car, and Mr. Simonet's son was driving his electric scooter.
It was like a skateboard, a one-wheel skateboard.
Tell me your name.
Jacob Simonet.
Describe this vehicle that you were riding on.
It's got 2 spaces for your feet. Has one on the back, one on the front.
No, try to look at me. I'm trying to see you. Trying
There's
to
one in the
go
back,
like this.
one in the front, and then there's a big wheel in the center. And you put your feet on either side, and then it balances, and you ride it kind of like a skateboard.
Oh, I actually
had a
have
feeling you
picture
might
of
need it.
myself riding on one of those for about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
We bought it for one of my grandchildren years ago, but it's motorized.
Yes.
It has a motor.
It's electric.
And how fast does it go?
Tops out at about 17 miles an hour.
17.
Yes.
That's pretty fast. Are you required to drive that on the street where pedestrians walk or where cars ride?
On the sidewalk with the pedestrians.
Sidewalk.
Yes.
Do you drive it on the sidewalk?
Yes, I do.
Do you ever drive it in the street?
I do not.
Now you're going to tell me what happened on the date of this incident, which was August 17th.
This year, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was going south after work, and I was going to crossing through the intersection. I had the green light.
Is there a chart?
Yes. Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I was crossing the intersection.
You're the blue car.
I'm the blue car. And I had the green, it was going, and Jacob had cut through on the red into the green and slammed into the side of my car. He had cut through the intersection.
So he was in the street where the cars travel?
Yes.
Not on the sidewalk?
Right. He was not in the walkway.
Okay. Jacob, I want you to walk up to that sign and show me where you were when you and the plaintiff collided.
I was about right here.
You were in a crosswalk?
Yeah, I was in the crosswalk coming through and about
Okay,
right.
is that what, Jacob, is that what the police report is going to indicate? That you were in the crosswalk?
I don't know.
Well, I assume that there is a police report. Is that correct? Police report's going to tell me where the debris was, I assume. The debris is either going to be in a crosswalk or it's going to be in the street. Where do you think it's going to be?
Some of it was in the street.
Show me the street that you're talking about.
About like right
No,
here.
put your finger on it. Don't go around where it's...
About right here.
Right there. That would be in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be in the middle of the street where the cars travel, not in the crosswalk.
Yeah.
Yes. It's easy.
Sure.
How old is he?
15.
15. I've had a whole bunch of those who are 15. You know when they're telling a fib?
How?
When their mouths are moving.
He's a pretty good kid.
All of my kids are pretty good kids. But you can always
Figure
tell.
it out, huh?
Yeah, you can usually tell. Is this your first, only?
Both, first and only.
First and only. Oh, well, she probably had some experience with that anyway.
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay, and this happened at what time during the day?
I believe it was about 4, a little after 4:30.
So it was light out.
Yes.
You collided with her car on the driver's side.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, on the door of the driver's side.
The fender.
Fender.
Yes.
Side fender?
Yes, side fender.
Okay, not the front of the car.
The front fender of the car.
Front fender of the car on the side. I'm talking about it was the side or the front?
The side.
Side. So you collided with her.
Yes.
Because cars don't move sideways.
Yes.
He could have been quite seriously injured.
Yes, he could. He hit the side of the car and he flew up onto the hood and then kind of rolled across the hood, hit my windshield, and then fell onto the ground. And when I stopped, he jumped up, appeared at my window, and apologized, and then asked me if I was okay.
What did he say?
Just said he was sorry. And then he asked me if I was okay. And then I asked him if he was okay. And then he asked me if I was okay. And it went back.
So far, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And which I was very impressed by, that he was more worried about me than anything else. I moved my car out of the road, onto the side of the road. There was an EMT that was across the street from us, and he came over and assessed him if there was any more damage. He got some road rash and things like that, but he was not seriously hurt, at least that we noticed at the time.
Do you have the police report?
I do.
I'd like to see it, please, Kevin. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One witness said that he was right next to you and that you went past him and that the light was red. His light was red, which is why he was stopped. That's what I'm reading. He did say that his light was red when the kid initially passed in front of him. Did you get a copy of this police report?
I've seen it, yes.
Explain to me, would you put on this again and leave that one on because that's the version that I believe. Would you walk over there and explain to me what cut the corner was, what you were doing? It talks about cutting the corners. So I want you to understand, I believe that, based upon what I'm reading here, I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
So now I want you to show me how you cut the corner.
So I was coming to this one, and I went through, and instead of going here and just going through the sidewalk, I just went like around here and through this crosswalk.
What's cut the corner?
Cut the corner here, right there.
You mean just that little space is what you're talking about? You cut the corner?
Yeah, I went from about...
I want you to understand, I believe that you were in the street. I believe you were in the street, not in a crosswalk. So let's run through that again. Would you please show me what cut the corner was?
Went through here, and I came here, and I cut here. So right there, I cut the corner.
He is a nice boy, Mr. Simonette.
Thank you.
Carrie Cargill claims Joseph Simonette owes for damage after his 15-year-old son hit Carrie's car while riding an electric skateboard.
Okay, the police determined that based upon the eyewitness testimony that the pedestrian, Jacob, is at fault and believed to have crossed the intersection before having the right-of-way. The vehicle had the green light. In any event, do you have photographs of your car? This happened in August, and you were called to the scene by your son, is that right?
Correct.
And you got there, you know that he was a little banged up, but thankfully...
He was in an ambulance when I arrived, but shortly after, yes, he did walk out of the ambulance and suffered some injuries, which I have pictures of if you'd like to see them.
I'm sure he was banged up. He had bruises from falling off the...
From being launched from the vehicle after the collision, correct.
Okay. You know, he was really lucky that she wasn't going faster.
Correct. Could have been much worse. We were thankful for his health on the outcome of the incident.
You're right. Okay, can I see an estimate to fix your car, please? Thank you.
You're welcome.
What kind of a car do you have?
A 2015 Equinox Chevy.
You had full coverage on the car, is that right?
Yes.
But with a $1,000 deductible.
Yes.
So if you put this through to your insurance, you have a $1,000 deductible.
Yes.
Right? Anything else you want to tell me, Jacob?
Nope.
Do you still ride one of those things?
It's broken. I didn't get a new one, no.
It was destroyed in the accident.
You know what my father told me when he gave me my first car? I think I was 17. He bought me the oldest, ugliest car, but it was like a tank. All my other friends were getting these nice, cute little cars, and this one was like an old person's tank Cadillac or something. You know, we're talking 50 years ago. And I said, why do I have to have this car? Everybody else has cute cars. He said, because if you get in an accident, I want you to be surrounded by 4,000 pounds of steel. That's pretty much the lesson that I've sent out there. 4,000 pounds of steel. One and only, surrounded by lots of steel. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. Thank you, we're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Overall, I'm happy.
She had some fault due to hitting a pedestrian in a crosswalk.
It was surreal, like out of the movies.
Your heart stops, and all you can do is look for the car keys and panic and get there as fast as you can.
I am so glad that he was okay.
I remember just flying through the air, and then I was on the ground, and I got right up.
Be very careful.
Count your blessings and enjoy every moment that you have, because things could change in an instant.
I know these electric scooters and skateboards are very popular, but even before this case, I tried to look up any rules, laws, regulations. There are a few for electric motorbikes and things like that, but far fewer than I would expect for a machine that can go up to 17 miles an hour when you're 15.
I think that you're right. I think that since those things have become so popular, there really have to be enforced rules. And parents, and this is a very nice father and son, but I've seen kids weave in and out of cars. It always looked like an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah. And this one could have ended in a real tragedy.
He was lucky, and his father knew he was